All right, let's go ahead and get started. Do you actually want to sit next to the lady there, and then you can just do a translation for her? Sit her right there. Okay, so we'll do everything in English, and then Honda can sit next to the nice couple there, and then she can do the translation for him quietly, and I think we can get started. Okay? All right. Are you guys motivated? Are you motivated? You're not motivated? You're scared? Did I just scare you? Good. All right, let's get started. Okay. I'll always give maximum effort. I will always give maximum effort. I will never quit. I will never quit. I will stand up for others. I will stand up for others. I will live my life with integrity. I will live my life with integrity. Point Avenue. All right, let's get a round of applause. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. My name is Danny. I was actually born in Korea, and I immigrated to America at the age of 5. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia is in the deep south. A lot of times I just say close to Florida or Disney World, and people know. Some famous things about Atlanta, Georgia. We have 2 more people. Now we have 45, including myself. Thank you very much. That's great. Coca-Cola is from Atlanta, Georgia. And then also it has one of the largest aquariums, right? So one of the largest aquariums. What we want to do today is we have a lot of things to cover. We have a very, very special guest. We have a VIP, a very important person, Nacha. If you don't know Nacha, look at my mouth. Look at my mouth. And we also have a very close friend of mine who hailed all the way from Harvard Business School. He's Chinese American, and his name is Nick, as well as a very, very special person in my life, my wife, Honda, who's Thai, graduated from Cambridge. So we'll hear from different individuals about their life stories, and the purpose of us sharing our life stories is to inspire, motivate the little ones, and to also give parents who are here purpose, direction, motivation for how they can coach and mentor their children to not just get into great schools, get the best jobs, and get that promotion, but grow as leaders and individuals of good character. Okay? So I think this is about the pace in which I will talk. I can talk a lot faster, usually I do, but I will try to slow down a little bit so everybody can understand what's going on. So what you just heard is our ethos. Ethos is words that we live by. So at Point Avenue, we are a group of very, very passionate and fairly young, I'm young, mentors and role models, big brothers and big sisters who help shape leaders of character in our students. So we don't just teach English, SAT, ACT, we teach values. We teach people to be responsible citizens, to be grateful, to say thank you to your parents, to appreciate what you have. And this is what we're all about. We are an education technology company, right? So as a matter of fact, we don't have too many students here. Typically, I start with a push-up competition. Push-up competition. Yes, you're looking right at me, young man, with the glasses. All right, so let's get some volunteers. We can have some volunteers come up here. Let's get some students to come up here. Don't make me go down there and grab you. Nacha, please come up here. Nick, can you grab those little ones over there? They were playing chess earlier. The 2 little guys. I remember them. Let's get some of the... Yep, Shasha, let's get up here. Let's go. Push-up competition. Nick, all the way down there, those two little guys with the white shirts. Dad's wearing the red shirt. Grab those two little kids. They're trying to hide. They're trying to duck their head down right there. All right, so we're going to do a push-up competition. Let's go. Come up here, guys. I'll give you guys some candy. I'll give you healthy candy. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Come on, guys. There you go. Oh, he stood up. Oh, he stood up. Come on, let's go. Let's go, buddy. Let's go. Bring him up here, Nick. Fireman's carry him, Nick. Fireman's carry him. This little guy needs some motivation. He needs some purpose, direction, and motivation. What about sister? Sister, can you come up here? Don't be scared. Come on. There we go. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. There we go. Sometimes you got to take that first step. Take that first step, and you will not miss out on opportunities. Okay, so what we're going to do here is a push-up competition. We're going to see who can do the most amount of push-ups in 1 minute. 1 minute, okay? Cannot do knee push-ups, so we're going to do real push-ups. So Nick, let's go ahead and get down and show what proper technique looks like. So this gentleman also went to West Point, which is the United States Military Academy. We both went to West Point. And so at West Point, every single semester, you have to do 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, and a 2-mile run. So that's about a 3-point-something kilometer run, okay? So you have to put your feet together like this. Ladies, make sure you guys watch. Okay, you guys should watch. Hands shoulder-width apart, go down. Come up. Go down. Come up. Okay, so your body has to move as one unit. Okay, so I'm going to give them 1 minute to see who can do the most amount of push-ups. Let's go ahead and get down here. What's your name, by the way, young lady?
Shuang. What is it? Shuang.
Shuang Shuang? That's your name? That's a cool name. All right, how about you come right here? Shuang Shuang, you're trying to hide behind the table. I know what you're trying to do. Okay, let's go over here. You're so brave. All right, so we're going to go ahead and give them 1 minute to see who can do the most amount of push-ups. You guys need to count your own push-ups. Okay, so like 1, 2, 3, 1 minute. Are you guys ready? Are you ready? Yeah. Yes? Yeah. Okay, 3, 2, 1, begin. Let's give a round of applause, guys. Round of applause. Yeah, some encouragement. You two little ones, I'm going to make you do push-ups later. All right, let's go. Count out loud. You guys can count. Good. Let's go. Count out loud. Come on, Charles. Are you praying there? What are you doing? Good job. Like meditation. Okay, so some of these guys need some coaching on proper technique for push-ups, right? But this little lady, she's brave. Let's give her a round of applause. Very good. Actually, very good technique. Her technique is very good. Keep your head up, Shuang Shuang. There you go. Look at Dad. Dad's videotaping you. Smile to Dad and say, Dad, why did you sign me up for this? Why did you sign me up for this, Dad? Right? All right, come on, let's go, Shasha. Clearly, you need to come to summer camp. You need to work on your push-ups. Nacha, you should be rocking this. 21? So you should try not to touch your knees. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. All right, get up. Recover. Okay, how many push-ups did you do, Nick?
I did 20.
Nick only did 20 push-ups. I think he was taking it easy. He can actually do about 200 push-ups in 2 minutes. Okay? That's the West Point standard. All right, young lady, how many did you do?
22.
22? How old are you?
9.
9 years old. Did you think that you were going to come today and do push-ups in front of a stage of about 45 people?
I don't know.
And make sure when you go home, make your little brothers over there do some push-ups, all right? You have very good form. She has very good form. 22 push-ups.
20.
20. Okay, so Shasha, right? And you're in 6th grade? 6th grade? Okay, she did 20 push-ups. How many push-ups did you do?
26.
26 push-ups. All right, Nacha gets the prize. Congratulations. Yay. So the prize is she's going to come up here and present later. Thank you very much. All right, good job, everybody. You guys can take a seat. Good work. High five. Good job. Go down. Yep, you can go down this way. Okay, so why do we do that? Besides pure entertainment value, I firmly believe that you should never pass up a good opportunity. As a matter of fact, if you pass up an opportunity, then doors will close and you'll never have that opportunity sometimes again. And by taking on new opportunities, you take on new challenges and you push yourself outside of your comfort zone. So with this, I want to go ahead and show you a video clip, right? So today we're going to have some quick introductions. We're going to talk about the goal of parenting. So what does it mean to be a good parent? We're going to go into a little bit of the technicalities of universities. So best fit schools, schools' priorities, Every single school has presidential priorities and the types of students that they look for. It's far beyond just a ranking system of 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to talk about how to win. How to win through mentorship. We'll go into Nacha's testimonial, and then we're going to do a live mentoring session. So towards the end of today, we're going to bring Nacha up here after a testimonial. This is not scripted, and we're going to just do a one-on-one conversation about how she can set goals and achieve them. And then we'll take some questions at the end. So what we want to do here today is we want to show you a video. This is a video of some of the students that we've been mentoring. So I myself have been a mentor for about 10 years in Asia, in China, in Korea, in Vietnam, in Thailand, Taiwan, Hong Kong, in the Asia area. So as a fellow Asian American, I have dedicated my life to inspiring youth. Because if I do that here today, tomorrow when I retire, the world will be a better place. And I firmly believe that. So we're going to show you a video of our students. These are successful students that we've mentored over the years. Some of these kids already graduated universities. Some of these kids are at top boarding high schools like Milton and Andover in America. And some of these kids are at top US universities like Harvard, Cornell, and UPenn. So let's go and watch the students and their testimonial. Kane?
Hi everyone, my name is Alice and I'm currently doing first year undergraduate law degree at the University of Oxford.
Hi, I'm Renya. I'm currently a sophomore at University of Southern California.
Hello, I'm Hannah. I'm from Shanghai and I went to Milton Academy. This fall I'm starting at Harvard.
Hi, my name is Heidi. And my name is Helen. We're twins that Danny mentored. I went to Pomona College and I went to UC Berkeley.
Hi, this is Angelina. I am currently at the University of California, Berkeley.
Hi everyone, my name is Zach Neri and I'm from Shanghai, China. I'm currently a rising junior at Milton Academy.
Hello, my name is Cadet Benjamin Shu and I'm from Troy, Michigan. I'm currently a firstie or senior at the United States Military Academy at West Point.
Hi everyone, my name is Raymond Chang and I just recently graduated from Cornell University.
Hi everyone, my name is Owen Chu. I'm a rising junior at Columbia University.
Hi everyone, my name is Aspen and I'm from Hong Kong. I'm a rising sophomore in Milton Academy.
Hey guys, I'm Willie and I'm currently a 4th class cadet, a plebe at West Point.
We were first introduced to him through his brother Sam, who started a SAT boot camp academy. Both Danny and Sam made the process very enriching and fulfilling for students. A lot of it was, really getting your mindset in check and making sure that you guys, students, were, taking care of themselves and, really trying to dig deep and find a career and a goal and a trajectory that's right for us.
Two activities that I started doing at uni that I am extremely proud of, for example, was joining the Oxford Union, and the second one is joining the varsity cheerleading squad. To be honest, the mental grit it took, I could not have done it without the help of Danny.
I guess throughout the whole college process, it was really helpful to have Danny guiding me through and advising me on how best to present myself.
Spending time in the past with Danny in particular, under his mentorship, I've definitely learned a great deal and it's helped me significantly with my time here.
The reason why I choose architecture has a large factor influenced by Danny, because when I first met Danny, I don't really know what I want to do. I don't even know what interests me. But after talking with Danny and organize my thoughts, I want to do architecture at Berkeley.
When I first met Danny, it was ages ago. I was a sophomore in high school and now I'm already 22. That summer in sophomore year of high school, he taught me many things. Danny, as my mentor, he taught me the importance of physical fitness. He also dropped little nuggets of knowledge on, how to be a good leader and also what good character was and what you should work on to develop good character. And it was very helpful for me as a high school student because it laid the foundation of how I am today as a cadet and as a person.
From his background as basically a soldier in training at West Point and Ranger School, he always emphasized the importance of grit. And I remember taking that to heart and doing a half marathon for the first time. And from after I'd accomplished that, I remember thinking, if I can run for this long, there's nothing that I can't do. And that's the mentality that, thanks to Danny, I was able to take going into university.
I think Danny really helped me academically, and also I feel like he really shaped my perspective on the society and the world in a more positive way. I'm also very grateful that I met Danny, that he is my mentor.
Say thank you, Danny, for what you've taught me, and it's honestly, university would not be the same without having learned from you.
Their positivity and energy still accompanies me every day.
Danny helped set me up for success at a very early age, and I'm very grateful for that. So for you guys, I hope that you can find a mentor like I found that inspires you, like Danny inspired me. And I mean, if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have embarked on this amazing journey that's West Point Life.
Really, really appreciate everything that Danny and his team have done for us. Yep.
So, Go Points Avenue.
Go Point Avenue.
Go Point Avenue! Woo!
Go Point Avenue.
Go Point Avenue.
Go Point Avenue.
As my wife was editing this video, I probably watched it like 20 times. Every time I watch it, my heart just gets so warm with the love I have for the students that I've mentored over the years. So you can see some of them are old, right? Some of these kids have already graduated university. They're out in the world, whether they're at banking or McKinsey or in private education, and they're having real impact. And let me tell you, that is so fulfilling. As an educator, as a teacher, as a mentor, seeing the kids that I've been able to be a part of impart some nuggets of knowledge, as the students said, but most importantly, grow up as leaders of character is an incredibly fulfilling opportunity. Yes, we have more people. That's always good news. All right. So let me go in and tell you a brief story. I'm going to fast forward through this a little bit. I don't want to make you guys fall asleep. This is my personal life story. So growing up, I had an incredible role model and mentor, my older brother. So I have an older brother. His name is Sam. At the age of 6, he looked at me and he said, "Hey, what kind of goals and dreams do you have?" And I'm like, "What? I'm 5 years old. What kind of question is that?" And he said, "For me, I'm going to MIT." And I looked at him and I said, "Why do you want to go to a school that spells Tim backwards, T-I-M?" And he's like, "This is why you'll never get into MIT." And so my brother ended up going to MIT, finished his undergraduate and master's in material science, mechanical engineering, and biotechnology. That's a mouthful. Right? So after his undergraduate and master's degree, he moved to Shanghai, China, back in 2009 to start an education technology company, because it is through education that we had unique opportunities that our parents gave to us, and then opportunities that we earned. So we were born in Korea. We immigrated to America. Now, growing up as a kid, my grandfather always planted very positive ideas in my head. Right? So a lot of times he would say, "One day, son, you will grow up and become a general, because you're a tough kid. So I hope that one day you will become a general in the US Army or in the Korean Army." And so my nickname when I was a kid was Changgun. Changgun is a Korean word that means general. Now, of course, I grew up and I didn't become a general, right? But I grew up and I went to United States Military Academy. Sadly enough, 3 days before I graduated university, my grandfather passed away. My grandfather was a very important figure in my life, so I still always dedicate his memory. And as a very young and early age, my grandfather always reminded me, dream big and chase after it endlessly. So if you were to tell your parents or tell your friends and say, "When I grow up, I want to be ... And people look at you and they say, "No, you can't. No, you're not smart enough. You can't do it." Prove them wrong. You got to dream big. So this is my family. So many things I think I've learned in terms of values that my parents instilled in me. My mom actually told my brother, because he's the first son growing up, "Hey, you can't cry. You have to be tough. You have to be number one." 15 months later, she had me, and she gave me very different advice. She actually said, "Son, I have 2 words of advice for you. Be sweet." Huh? That seems to be a little bit odd, weird advice to give to a son. But growing up, my mom imparted on me the importance of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, EQ, is more important than IQ. It is something that can be developed over time. To have compassion and empathy for others is the difference between being an individual of good character and not. So when I applied to universities, I applied to many universities. I applied to 5, right? So I was fortunate enough to get into schools like Stanford and Duke and Georgetown, Georgia Tech. But I decided to go to West Point. Why? Because of this. So I was a senior in high school, grade 12 or year 13, and the attack on the World Trade Center happened. Some of you may remember. Some of you weren't even born. And so in this moment of just pure terror and chaos, I made the decision to serve my country. Duty, honor, country. This is the motto of the United States Military Academy. Raise your hand if you have been to visit Harvard or MIT before in America. Raise your hand if you visited the campuses. Okay? So, I've done hundreds of thousands of workshops and seminars, and every time I ask this question, there's always somebody in the audience, sometimes a big group of people who have visited. And then my next question is raise your hand if you visited West Point before, the United States Military Academy. Right? And usually you get nobody, right? But I want to encourage you to go check it out. This is in New York City. It's a little bit north of New York City. It's by the Hudson River Valley. Every year at West Point, the United States graduates about 900 to 1,000 U.S. Army officers who then serve the country for 5 years. It's a mandatory obligation. So at an early age of 17, I left home to go to university. At an early age of 21, I graduated university. And then at an early age of 22, I went to Iraq. Not on vacation, but to lead soldiers on the battlefield. West Point is famous because it graduated a lot of famous generals. Eisenhower, Patton, MacArthur. George Washington, the father of the United States, first president, he founded West Point in 1802. So who's this gentleman right here? Yeah, that's right. George W. Bush, President of the United States. Who's this gentleman right here? That's me. It is. Right? A little bit younger, a little bit darker. So that was on graduation day, May 27th, 2006. You can do the math, figure out how old I am, right? So May 27th, 2006. The President of the United States was there at our graduation. He gave me my diploma, right? I remember I was very nervous. My heart was beating faster than the helicopter rotors. And so when I approached the President of the United States, I asked myself, I said, what do you say to him? What do you say to the most powerful man? You can't go up and say, hey, how's it going, George? So as an officer in the U.S. Army, you actually have to salute him. So I remember saying, sir, Lieutenant Huang reports, it's truly an honor to serve my country, and I promise I won't let you down. And he looked into me. By the way, up close, George W. Bush is very old, wrinkles, television and makeup make you look good. And he looked into my eyes and he said, Danny, I know you will. I'm proud of you, son. And my heart just melted. So then I graduated West Point. This is me at the age of 22, leading soldiers as a leader. It's important as a leader to not just lead blindly, but to lead with character. It's a big responsibility for a young man. You can probably find me in this photo, right here in the center. Iraq, who's been to Iraq? Okay, I didn't think so, right? Iraq is super hot. Super hot. At this time, we had to do a lot of top secret missions. If I told you, I'd have to kill you. So I can't tell you, right? Top secret. Who's this right here? Yeah? Oh, he said it? Don't be shy. Yeah, Biden. Yeah, that's Joe Biden. Yes? Now he's on television these days. But Joe Biden was a vice president for President Obama for 8 years. And then who's this? Yeah, I think I heard somebody. Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter is the only president from the state of Georgia where I grew up. So I got to pour orange juice for him when he visited West Point. I poured it. You know, he had all these Secret Service bodyguards around him. They were making sure I wasn't pouring poison into his orange juice. And then he said, Danny, good pour. I said, thank you, sir. And this is happiest day of my life. Right? So I actually met my wife in Shanghai, China, at a summer camp. So at this time, she was also an educator, a teacher, teaching in a Thai education company in Bangkok. And she brought about 20 students from Thailand to do a summer camp together with us. We're based in Shanghai. And during this time, we fell in love, and the rest is history. Right? So This was not very comfortable to wear, but I did it, right? And I can say a little bit of Thai too. Sawadee Kap. Yeah, so I think this is super important. This is the philosophy I have. Mahatma Gandhi. The only way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service to others, right? So if you live a life in the military, live the life of selfless service. In education, you live a life of selfless service. You know, a lot of times people around me, including my own parents, my in-laws, right, they always say, hey, when are you guys going to have kids? Like, we have so many kids. All the kids that we mentor every single day. Yes, but one day we'll have our own kids. And every single day when we work with students, we impart knowledge on them. We get to learn more about how we can be better parents. This is important, right? Growing up, I endured a lot of hardship. My life wasn't this perfectly sheltered, easy story on a silver platter. As a matter of fact, at a young age, I went through a lot of hardship growing up in Atlanta, Georgia. One of the hardest things was discrimination, right? My brother and I were the only two Asian kids in an entire school of white, African-American, Hispanic students. And every single day I remember going to school, kids would look at me and say, go back to China. And I said, I'm from Korea. She thought that was funny. But then kids would throw rocks at me. One time a rock hit me on the back of the head. I remember going home and I said, Mom, I can't do this anymore. And my mom said, son, in life, you have two choices, fight or flight. What is it going to be? And I chose to fight. Now, really fight, but fight with my intellect and knowledge. This is grit, right? It's something that Nacha developed this summer and still carries with her. It's something that I hope every single student develops at an early age. Because when life is comfortable, when life is easy, everybody's smiling. But as soon as you have to face an obstacle or a challenge, it's really what's grit that will get you through. So grit is, I will never quit. Grit is where passion meets perseverance. Grit is the mindset that you have in terms of growth. All right, so that's a little bit of my intro. I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Nicholas. Come up here, Nick. So let me ask you a serious question. Who looks younger? Ah, oh, come on. Okay, so Nick is a little bit younger than me, a little bit. I graduated in 2006 from West Point. He graduated in 2013, so you can do the math.
Thanks, old man. Appreciate it.
Old man.
Hello. Hi, like Danny said, my name is Nick. It's an honor to be with you here today. I come all the way from Boston to come be here with you today. I think before I get started into my story and why I'm here today, I think it's important to make a couple of notes. The first is, Danny didn't really talk about one thing that is super important to us at West Point is being part of a community, being part of a brotherhood and a sisterhood. So when I found out what Danny was doing out here, he was like, hey, Nick, I'd love to have you come out here. I was like, cool, I'm there. So here I am today in Bangkok, a couple thousand miles away from my home to be here with you. So thanks, Danny. Thanks for having me. So Danny had a bunch of pictures of presidents and him shaking hands with fancy people. I don't have that. I've only met 2 presidents. Sorry, Danny, you had 3. I met Obama and George Bush. And a funny story about George Bush is that George Bush came to one of our classes when I was a senior. And he came and talked to us actually about education. He talked to us about the national security issue in the U.S., the #1 national security issue in the U.S., and he said it was education. So I spent a good hour with George W. Bush talking about education in the United States. So the other thing I will say is I was so honored to meet George W. Bush. I shook his hand. I didn't wash my hands for about 2 days. So that was a really cool experience, probably not super sanitary. But yeah, so my story, I'm going to talk about how I am at Harvard Business School. My story starts in China, goes through West Point, goes through America, and then it ends at Harvard Business School and hopefully coming back to Asia. So So this is a picture of where my family is from. This is Guangxi, China. This is my family plot. This well right here, this well is my family well. It's the Chill family well. We have a Chill village around it, and my family has been there for many, many generations. And my story starts with my great-grandfather. We have been rice farmers for hundreds of years, and my great-grandfather thought that the only way to get further in life was through education. He knew that us continuing to farm rice, we would never go anywhere. So he decided to pool together 2 months of rice harvest from the family in order to send my grandfather to school. So my grandfather went to school. He was the most educated person in our village. He made it to 8th grade. So, but that 8th grade in 1950-something was enough because he could write and he could read. So he joined the People's Liberation Army, the Chinese army, as an officer and was able to escape and to move to Beijing and then created a much better life for our family. So the two things that kind of influenced my life from an early age are, one, the importance of education, and then two, discipline and advancement in one's life through military service. So I come from a family with a history of military service, and so that has been passed on to me throughout. The second thing I want to talk about is my mom. My mom was the daughter of my grandfather, who was also in the Chinese military. He was an officer, but she was in Shanxi, China, which is very remote, a coal mining town. So she also knew that if she wouldn't get out of Shanxi, she would be in Shanxi forever, in a coal mining town without many opportunities. So my mom decided to study super, super hard and tested in the Gaokao, which in China is the test that you have to take in order to go to university. She was the number 2 in the entire province of Shanxi. And that allowed her to go to Beijing for university, and that's where she met my dad, which brought them to education and to have a little bit more. After that, my mom knew that opportunities in China were limited, and at that time, the goal was to go to the United States. So she studied super, super hard, and then got the number 10 score on the TOEFL in China in 1987, I believe. So that brought us to Hawaii, where I was born as an American citizen. And when we arrived, things were really tough. My dad worked as a busboy. My mom had 4 jobs and was working 80 hours a week while raising me. And so they taught me the importance of hard work and education to kind of improve my situation. So my dad always never let me forget as well how lucky I was to grow up in the United States. So my story continues similar to how Danny's was. I was in 5th grade when 9/11 happened, and I decided that I needed to serve my country and give back to the place that had given me so much. So I decided to go to West Point. This is me on my graduation day as a senior cadet and about to commission as a lieutenant in the Army. I spent 5.5 years in the Army, and these are some of the pictures of my soldiers. I was an artillery officer, so we shot cannons, and these are my soldiers looking for the cannon strikes. This is my platoon. I was based in Hawaii, and this is us going through the jungle warfare school. More than anything, what I learned in the Army was that leadership starts with your soldiers, with the people that work for you, and to develop and train them, good things will happen to the organization as a whole. This is me on the same spot as Danny's picture. This is me on the battleship Missouri, getting promoted to the rank of first lieutenant. And kind of the takeaway from this is that as I was progressing in the military, I was being successful. And I learned a lot. I learned about discipline. I learned about grit. I learned about how to take care of people. And that started getting me thinking a little bit about what I wanted to do. I accomplished the things that I wanted to in the military and was thinking about education. I was thinking about how to give back. I was thinking about where I came from, where my family came from, and how I could give back. So I'm actually super passionate about education and helping mentor kids. When I was in the military, I spent my free volunteer time going to Asia and teaching English. I was actually in Bangkok in 2012 teaching for free at a local high school, teaching kids English. So I spent 5.5 years in the Army, and I realized that I wanted to do something else. I wanted to give back. So I knew the best place to go to learn business and to be able to build something in the education space was Harvard Business School. So I worked super, super hard, and now I'm here at Harvard Business School and learning a lot about entrepreneurship, a lot about startups and the education space. So this is kind of my story. The couple things that I want to reinforce are, one is I'm only here today because of the foresight and education of my family before me, and that's something that I want to pass on to others. I want to pass on this, the gift of education and the opportunity that I had, and also to share some of my experiences through the military, through discipline and building teams. So thanks, Danny. I'll have you come back up. Danny wants to tell, okay, so Danny wants me to add one more thing. So I started out as a super humble Chinese-American kid in Hawaii with not a lot. My family is from the middle of nowhere in China. But today at Harvard Business School, I sit right next to John F. Kennedy's grandson. I sit next to princes in Dubai. I sit next to ambassadors' kids. I sit next to the elite of the elite of the elite. And so to bring it all home, it's really about, through hard work, education, and good leadership and teamwork, you can get from here to here. So that's my story, and I hope to be able to share that with all of you.
Why are you so sweaty? All right. I think we have a special speaker coming up here telling her story. So you should be proud. Thai lady here about to share her story.
In Thai โอเคค่ะก็สวัสดีค่ะชื่อ Honda นะคะฟังเรื่องเขาแล้วรู้สึกว่าเราสู้เขาไม่ได้เลยชีวิตเราสบายคุณแม่ส่งเรียนบางกอกพัฒนามีชีวิตที่ดีตอนที่สมัครมหาวิทยาลัยจริงๆแล้วก็คิดนะคะว่าเราจะไปสู้คนอื่นได้ยังไงอ่ะเรื่องราวชีวิตเราสู้เขาไม่ได้เลยอ่ะเรื่องราวชีวิตเขาสองคนแบบยิ่งใหญ่มากผ่านอะไรมาเยอะแล้วประวัติเราอ่ะยื่นเข้าไปจะไปสู้กับเขาได้ยังไงแต่สิ่งที่อยากบอกเลยนะคะแล้วก็จากการที่ได้เจอเด็กมาเยอะแยะมากมายคือเด็กทุกคนเรามีประสบการณ์ต่างกันก็จริงแต่ทุกคนยูนิคเขามีความเป็นของตัวเองไม่ว่าจะผ่านอะไรมาสามารถเขียนลงไปแล้วก็เล่าเรื่องราวการเป็นตัวของเราเองได้เขาสนใจเด็กที่สมัครมาในการเป็นเด็กคนนั้นจริงๆอย่าไปสร้างเรื่องราวเลยค่ะเพราะว่าเจอคนหลายๆคนโดยเฉพาะเด็กเวียดนามเด็กจีนเขาก็คิดเหมือน Honda คิดสมัยก่อนนั่นแหละว่าแล้วเราจะไปสู้เขาได้ยังไงเรามาเปลี่ยนแปลงตัวเองเป็นเด็กที่ไม่มีอะไรเขียนเรื่องนู้นเรื่องนี้ดีกว่าก็เลยอยากบอกว่าไม่ต้องหรอกค่ะขนาด Honda เรียนโรงเรียนดีๆชีวิตสบายๆเรามีจุดในชีวิตที่สามารถพรีเซนต์ตัวเราเองให้คนอื่นดูได้ว่าเราเป็นคนยังไงดังนั้นของ Honda นะคะ Honda จบ Cambridge มาปริญญาโทวิศวะค่ะแล้วก็ทำงานสอนหนังสือมาตอนนี้ปีที่8แล้วค่ะสอนมาที่จีนเกาหลีเวียดนามครั้งนี้เป็นครั้งแรกที่มาจัดสัมมนาแบบนี้ในไทยปกติจัดกันกับแดนนี่แล้วก็ทีมมา100 กว่าครั้งค่ะนี่คือครั้งแรกเลยในไทยHonda พูดได้ แดนนี่เขียน5ความจริงคือ4กับอีกเสี้ยวค่ะฮอนด้าพูดได้4กับอีกเสี้ยวคือพูดไทยได้อังกฤษได้จีนได้3ภาษานี้ค่อนข้างคล่องเกาหลีฟังออกพูดได้ค่ะแต่ช้าหน่อยต้องแบบคิดแป๊บนึงอะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะส่วนเวียดนามเนี่ยพูดได้แบบเอาอยู่รอดอะค่ะซ้ายขวาหน้าหลังอะไรอย่างงี้แต่ว่าก็คือ4กับอีกเสี้ยวค่ะแล้วก็เดินทางไปหลายที่แล้วค่ะ next ก่อนที่จะมาทำตรงนี้ปีที่แล้วอะค่ะทุกคนเคยได้ยินเพลงนี้ไหม Baby Shark ดุดดุดดุดดุด Baby Shark ดุดดุดคือหน้าที่ก่อนหน้านี้คือเป็น GM ประเทศไทยเอา Baby Shark เข้ามาค่ะเมื่อปีที่แล้วแต่เสร็จแล้วพอเราไปทำเวียดนามเขาต้องการคนช่วยเป็นเมนเทอร์ก็เลยเราทำ Baby Shark เราไม่ได้อยู่กับเด็กเราไม่ได้สัมผัสเด็กจริงๆก็เลยย้ายไปอยู่เวียดนามค่ะแล้วก็เป็นเมนเทอร์สอนเด็กๆเหมือนกันค่ะก็อันนี้คือประวัติของ Honda แล้วก็ตอนที่อยู่ที่เวียดนาม Honda ก็ช่วยแดนนี่เมนเทอร์เด็กตั้งแต่อายุ6 ขวบจนถึง18 ปี
All right, I'm going to brag a little bit about my wife here. So she is also an ultra marathoner. Ultra marathon is defined as something over 42 kilometers. So together we did 200-kilometer races. The longest distance she's ever won is 116 kilometers. Together we also did the Ironman. The Ironman is a very long distance of swimming, biking, and running. During the bike, which is 180 kilometers, in the last 30 kilometers, she was going about 40 kilometers per hour, and she fell off her bike, right? So you're riding in the arrow position. She fell off her bike, slid off the bike, going 40 kilometers per hour, almost broke her arm. So as she's coming into the transition area to go on the 42-kilometer run, there's blood on her body, right? Dried up, you know, and she's bruised all along her hip. I wasn't there because I was already running, right? My parents and you know, in-laws told me this. And so as she's coming in with blood all over her arms, everybody's like, oh my gosh, what are you going to do? You got to stop. She's like, I'm going to finish this. So for 42 kilometers, she ran like this and finished the Ironman. So that's the woman I married, someone I'm super proud of. So why do we share these stories? What is the goal of parenting? It's a perfect transition. Growing up, I would always ask my mom, I would say, hey mom, how can you become a good mom? How can I become one day a good father? This is important for me because I was very blessed. I can't choose my parents, right? But I was very blessed to be born into a great family, a family that was focused on love, focused on values, focused on character. My mom said, well, son, parents have two important responsibilities. Number one, it is the parents' responsibility to instill good values in their children. You can't sign up and send your kid to school and say, hey, learn some values. I will not lie. I will not cheat. I will not steal. I will not tolerate those who do. These are values. I will be a good person. I will take care of others before I take care of myself. These are values. Responsibility number one. Responsibility number two, my mom said, is as you get older, you go through this thing called puberty, maturity. And as you're going through this transition phase, it is the parents' responsibility to find mentors and role models, big brothers and big sisters. Now, here's the important thing. Parents need to find the mentors. No kid is going to go to somebody and say, hey, will you be my mentor? Think about that. Parents need to find mentors and role models who are obviously probably a little bit younger than the parents, closer in age to their children, who share the same values that they do. And then build the bridge and relationship between children and mentors. And parents just kind of observe and supervise as this relationship starts building. Now, at a young age, if you understand the importance of mentors and the impact that they can have on your life, when you get older and you go out into the world and you're on your own, you're in university, you're in a job, then you understand the value of mentors. Now, at this age, you will go to people and say, hey, will you be my mentor? Hey, you know, I think you're a phenomenal person. I think you're a great father. I think you're a great businessman. I think you're also a great son. Can you share with me the values? Can you teach me? And can you advise me through a very difficult situation I'm going through now? So this is the value of mentorship. So my question to you is what is the goal of parenting? So I've asked this question hundreds of thousands of times. What is the goal of parenting? Very rarely will parents look at me and say, I want my kids to make a lot of money. I want my kids to get into the best universities possible, all the brand name universities, so I can be proud. I want my kids to be the best in everything that they do. Right? So very rarely, I have heard it before, but very rarely would you hear this. Most often parents would say such things as, I want my kid to live a purpose-driven life. I want my kid to be happy. I want my kid to be more disciplined. I want my kid to be an individual of good character, a good person. I want my kid to be a good role model for his or her siblings. So you hear most of these things. What is the goal of parenting? What do you know? Who's this young lady right here? That's Nacha, right? So if I were to give you the benchmark, the epitome, the hallmark example of incredible parents, we have two right here. Nacha's parents. Now, I haven't known Nacha's parents for a long time. As a matter of fact, we first met this past summer in Hanoi, Vietnam. Super hot summer. I was apparently very sweaty. And as I'm standing there, I saw the interactions that mom and dad had with their daughter. Right? Number one, very positive, very encouraging, just a lot of love. Right? It wasn't one of doubt, of anxiety, of worry, but it was one of, you can do it. Don't give up. I believe in you. I'm so proud of you. I love you. And the way in which they spend time communicating, listening, interacting, loving, that is an example of what good parents should do. So we can always learn. Even at my age now, I'm always looking up to good parents like Nacha's parents to learn about how I can become one day a great father. Best fit school. All right, so I think today's title was The Key to Ivy League Schools. Raise your hand here among the students, and of course, as parents, if you want to send your children to study abroad, whether it's for boarding school, whether it's for undergraduate universities or graduate schools, and for students, if it's your goal to study abroad. Raise your hand if you hope to study abroad one day. Raise your hand. Okay? Yeah, sure. Probably most of you guys, right? So, best fit schools, not top schools, but best fit schools. I'm going to generally assume that the audience here has a basic understanding and knowledge of US universities, of UK universities, the application process. So I'm not going to bore you with the basics. We're going to try to look at things at kind of a higher level. So when you think of best fit schools, right, the first question that comes to mind is Ivies. The Ivy League, also known as Ivies. Right? Who here actually knows the Ivies? Can name the Ivies, Ivy Leagues? Any brave soul? Right? How many Ivies are there, Nacha? How many Ivies are there? Anybody? Just throw a number out there. 7? Okay. Somebody said 8? 10? Okay. So there's actually 8 Ivies. Now, why is it called Ivy League? Does anybody know why it's called Ivy League? Yeah, that's right. So Ivy League, it's a group of private universities, 8 universities. America, right, has public and private universities. And it started off actually as an athletics conference. So it wasn't a group of the most elite schools. It was just an athletics conference. In America, you have this thing called NCAA, National Collegiate Athletics Association. Now, over the years, hundreds of years, these schools became ranked as some of the top, most elite institutions. So the 8 Ivy League universities, throw some names out there. What do we got? Yeah, Harvard. Stanford's not one. Cornell's one. UPenn. Yale, good. What else? Princeton. Columbia. You can't do it, Nick. UPenn, University of Pennsylvania, one more. Brown, yeah, very good. So these are the 8 Ivy Leagues. It's kind of an alphabetical order, so easy to say. MIT is not one. Stanford is not one. Caltech is not one. West Point is not one. Okay, so what about this? What is HITMIS? HITMIS. So these are what we call low-bearing fruit. These are easy questions. If you don't know this, I always ask these questions to get a general idea of the knowledge base of the audience. Okay, so what is HITMIS? Anybody? HITMIS. Yes? Not you, Nick. Okay, you want to take over? Very good, right? So HITMIS, admissions officers, people who are in education like myself, we call HITMIS, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, MIT, Stanford. Now, these schools are consistently the most competitive with an acceptance percentage as low as 3 to about 5%, right? As low as 3 to 5%. So even though MIT and Stanford are not Ivy League universities, right, these are considered the top 5 of the most elite of the elite universities. So you can see here, right, these are some ranking structures. You can see these are the names of the universities. Very expensive tuition, right? Very expensive tuition. Enrollment. So this is the total number of students in the undergraduate, so like the 4 years. And then you also have the test score range, right? At the top, the bigger numbers out of 1,600, that's the SAT. The lower numbers out of 36, that's the ACT. You do not have to take both. You only have to take one. And colleges favor either or. So it's not that they favor one more than the other. Now let's define a little bit about US universities. Okay, so there's different categories. It's very important to understand these things, right? So you can't just say, I'm going to apply to Harvard. So many times people have come to me and they say, hey, can you help my kid get into Harvard? And I look at them and I say, why do they want to go to Harvard? Right? And they can't answer that because it's a great school. Because every grandma in any country, if you say, I got into Harvard, they know, right? That may be true, but that is not the reason why you apply. So in America, you have categories. You have what's called public universities. You have what's called private universities. Public universities are state-funded, right? So all the taxpayers' dollars. Public universities, as a result, are very large. Sometimes with an undergraduate class of about 15 to 20,000 students, right? Public universities have large classes. So a typical class in a public university would have about 250 students in an auditorium just like this, and the professor would lecture. Students would take notes. If the student doesn't show up, the professor doesn't even know. Right? It's up to you as a responsible adult to attend your classes because you have a midterm, you have a final. Private universities, on the other hand, are privately funded. Right? So universities such as Harvard, Yale, Princeton, these universities have billions of dollars in endowment. Endowment meaning people who graduated from the university have given back in donations. They built their own companies, they've built their own success, and they've donated money back. Partly so that they can keep sending their future generations there. This is called legacy. And partly because they are very, very grateful for the educational opportunities that their university provided them. And then you have what's called national universities in liberal arts colleges. Anybody here, can you name some LACs? That's short for liberal arts colleges. Throw some names out there, some top LACs. Anybody? Okay, Carleton, Middlebury, Pomona, Swarthmore, Wellesley, all women's college, Williams. Have you guys heard of these schools before? Right. So these are liberal arts colleges. Liberal arts colleges are also elite universities. They're also undergraduate schools. Liberal arts universities do not have graduate school programs. Right? So it's typically a 4-year university. They're in rural parts, so more in like the countryside. Right? Typically, you would have to fly into like a main airport like Boston Logan. You drive about 2 hours, 3 hours to the university campus. Very small campus. So maybe students of incoming class of 100, 200, 300 students, as opposed to some universities that have an incoming class in the thousands. Right? So liberal arts colleges do not just focus on the humanities, right? Humanities being sociology, psychology, these majors. Liberal arts colleges also have very, very great STEM programs, science, tech, engineering, mathematics. As a matter of fact, what you have to recognize is liberal arts universities, because they're very small, classrooms can be about 6 to 8 students. Imagine going to university with 6 to 8 students per class, having that personal connection and touch with your professor, and because there is no graduate school, the professors are not spending majority of their time doing graduate research so that they can get published. They're spending their time mentoring and supporting the students in the undergraduate school. Right? So if your personality is maybe a little bit more introverted, you like to be in rural communities away from the city, so you don't spend daddy's credit card buying all the clothes, right? Then liberal arts universities might be a really great fit for you. National universities are the bigger schools, right? As what we named, like the Harvards, the Stanfords, the Yales. These are big universities, typically much bigger than liberal arts colleges. Then we also have different placement, right? So city, rural, like are you someone who wants to be in the city? Do you want to be in the hustle and bustle? Or do you want to be a little bit more isolated because you're someone who's very introspective, insightful, and reflective? And then East Coast, very cold. Snow, ice, probably doesn't happen too often in Thailand, right? And then West Coast, California, right? And then you go all the way up, Seattle, Washington, right? You got Oregon, so West Coast. And then this area in America that most people don't know, in the middle. Like, what are the states in the middle? You can ask a lot of people, right? Most people can say New York, California, right? But when you ask them, what's in the middle of America? People are like, desert? Right? There's actually a lot of stuff in there, right? And some good universities. And then schools. So it's kind of easy for you to break down universities in America, right? And so why am I sharing this with you? The earlier you can identify what you're passionate about, passion, what you love doing, without mom and dad pushing you to do it. The earlier you can identify what you're passionate about, the more time you can spend developing that passion. Dive deep in a lot of different ways, and I'll talk about that, right? So depth is more important than breadth. It's not about how many things you do, but it's about a few things and doing it very well, right? So when you think about U.S. universities, there's typically 3 major categories and then a specialty category, right? So number 1, engineering schools, right? So engineering, anything with the word engineering probably, like mechanical engineering, civil engineering, systems engineering, nuclear engineering. Engineering, if you are to go to an engineering school, it is very important that you perform high in the mathematics and in the sciences, specifically in the physics and the chemistry, right? So if you're in an IB program and you want to apply for engineering school and you take standard level math and standard level biology with no physics, probably not going to get into a competitive school, even if you get 7s in both categories, right? So how you choose your courses and what you choose to spend your time on and how deep you go is very important, and it sets you up for success. Now, just because you don't go to engineering school doesn't mean that you can't build success, right? As a matter of fact, for me, I studied sociology, which is in a different school. It's in the School of Arts and Sciences, and I studied environmental engineering. My brother did a lot of engineering at MIT. So you don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to be a businessman to be successful. In undergraduate school, it's about studying what you love, what you're passionate about. In graduate school, after you get some professional working experience, then you specialize in an MBA, Master's of Business Administration, like Nicholas, medical doctorate, Juris Doctorate, JD, it's a law degree, or Master's of Finance, right? So this is in graduate school. Okay, so engineering school. Second type of school we have is a School of Arts and Sciences. School of Arts and Sciences. So this is basically every major you can think of. Physics, biology, sociology, history, literature, right? This is in the School of Arts and Sciences, the most diverse school. Now, it is important to note that if you get into an engineering school, right? So let's say, for example, University of Pennsylvania. University of Pennsylvania, Ivy League school, has an engineering school. It has a School of Arts and Sciences. It has a business school called Wharton, University of Pennsylvania, Wharton, and it has a nursing school. 4 different schools, right, within the University of Pennsylvania. If you get into the engineering school, it is very easy to transfer out of the engineering school to go to arts and sciences, for example, right? Because you already have demonstrated a high level of STEM, so you can transition to a non-STEM major. If you go into the School of Arts and Sciences, it is difficult to get into an engineering school. Why? Because you have not demonstrated a high proficiency of math and sciences. So it's difficult to transfer after you get in the first year and say, you know what? I thought I was going to be a psychology major. I changed my mind. I'm going to apply and transition to the School of Engineering. Not going to happen, okay? Third is business school, right? So I hear a lot of kids these days when I talk to them, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to make a lot of money. Okay? How are you going to do that? I'm going to be a businessman. Why do you want to be a businessman? Because my father and mother are businessmen and women. Okay, so I've heard this so many times, right? It's like, okay, I already know what you're going to say. I look into your eyes, I already know what you're going to say, right? So that's not a good reason for going to business school, so you can make money, right? A lot of different ways to make money, and that should not be your driving, motivating factor anyway. Many business schools, many different ways to get into business schools, it's important to note. So there are top undergraduate business programs. UPenn Wharton is number 1, But for UPenn Wharton, what they focus on and specialize is finance and accounting, right? Which is different than, let's say, NYU Stern. NYU Stern is New York University, Stern School of Business. They have one of the best real estate, which is a concentration. Within business, the major of business, you have 12 major concentrations. Marketing, entrepreneurship, finance, accounting, real estate, 12 major concentrations. So it's important to dive deeper than business and say, okay, out of these 12 major concentrations, which one do I want to focus on? Out of these 12 that I choose, which one has the best school within that concentration? You guys follow me? Don't fall asleep. Okay, make you do push-ups, okay? Then you have Carnegie Mellon Tepper. It's undergraduate school. You have University of Michigan Ross, R-O-S-S. Okay? But you also have unique business programs. Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley, top 20 school. Different application. University of California system, you apply instead of the Common App, right? Berkeley has a business program that you get in after your sophomore year. This is called HAAS, H-A-A-S, HAAS. Right? So you can't get into Berkeley. If somebody says, hey, I got into Berkeley Haas as a freshman, guess what? They're lying. Okay? So you get in after your sophomore year. You have to have a very competitive GPA. Grade point out. Competitive GPA in university is 3.85. A 3.85 out of a 4.0 GPA. That's very, very tough. Recognize college becomes more difficult than high school. Now, the easier part is you have a lot of freedom and independence, and you don't have mom and dad being like, did you do your homework? Okay? So, you have Haas. And you have these other universities where you can transfer in and go in. MIT. MIT has a very good business school. It's called MIT what? Sloan. Right? MIT Sloan. MIT, you cannot get into business school as a freshman. You apply into the Sloan program after your freshman year. So it's a 3-year program. So these are unique things that you must know. Right? So what do business majors do? Well, some business majors will do economics. Right? Or some people who recognize that business school is hard. You know what? I just want to graduate from UPenn. Is it better to graduate from UPenn Wharton or not UPenn at all? Or get into the brand name UPenn? So if your profile is not very competitive, as in you're not the number 1 in your class or number 2 in your class, you still want to get into an Ivy League university because of the brand name, because of the network, you're not going to get into UPenn Wharton. So maybe then you apply as an economics major. That's business related, more on the theoretical side. Or you apply as a history major at UPenn. And when you graduate and people say, hey, where'd you go to school? You can still say, I went to UPenn. Now, people who went to UPenn will say, hey, did you go to Wharton? Or did you go to UPenn? Right? Of course, that person would have graduated from Wharton. And then you also have the specialty schools. So you have Berklee College of Music. You have RISD, Rhode Island School of Design. For a lot of these specialty schools, it's very important that you work on the P word. What's the P word? Anybody? No, it's not PP, right? It's portfolio. Portfolio. As a music major, you have to send in professional recordings of yourself singing, of yourself playing the cello. I played the cello for 12 years, right? But I wasn't good enough to get into Juilliard. So I went to West Point. And then as an art major, typically you submit up to 15 to 20 pieces in your portfolio. Now, a lot of times people who don't know what they're doing, they just say, okay, I'm going to take 15 pictures, and they submit it. Well, guess what? You ain't going to get into a top arts program like Parsons, like SAIC, like RISD, right? It's important to have a theme in your portfolio. It's important to demonstrate the layers of your abilities, the range of your abilities in your portfolio, right? So maybe some stuff on oil on canvas, maybe some black and white photography, right? It's important to have a theme and show the layers within your portfolio. So these are the different types of universities, okay? Some of you may have known, some of you didn't, right? So when you talk to your kids, right, don't look at them and say, you have to be a business major. Or as my parents said, Danny, for me, you need to be a medical doctor. To my brother, Sam, you need to be a lawyer. So my brother became an entrepreneur, I became a soldier, right? It worked out okay for us. So it's much more important when you talk to your kids and say, hey, you need to be, no. Hey, son and daughter, these are the options. One day in the future, you can apply to engineering school, business school, arts and sciences. Let's do some research together and investigate what those opportunities are. Let's see what you actually love. And then you start looking into the schools, right? So for example, UIUC. Who's heard of UIUC? Anybody? Probably not, right? University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. That's a mouthful. Okay, so UIUC. UIUC is top five in what major? Anybody? Finance? Somebody said? No. So if you go to UIUC and you say, I majored in finance, okay? UIUC is computer science or computer engineering. Right? So if you graduate from UIUC as a computer science major, you have just graduated from a top 5 computer science major school, and UIUC computer science majors get all the best jobs in Google, in Amazon, in a lot of these software engineering jobs that pay $200,000 US straight out of university. Okay, so we all know that American universities, holistic process, holistic meaning the whole person. The stuff in the black you already know, right? Yes, you need to get good test scores. You got to take these tests, right? You have to have good GPA for a top 30 US university, top 30 being like University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, University of Michigan, University of Virginia, Johns Hopkins, Northwestern, blah, 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 blah. Your GPA must be at least a 3.75 out of a 4.0. Your IB score without the 3 TOK extended essay out of a 42, so 6 times 7, right, should be about a 39 or 40 out of a 42 predicted score, right, because you apply with your predicted score. So you have a general idea of the range of competitiveness that you need. Now, what you may not know is this stuff in the red, right? So it's differentiated, right? These are things that we have learned over the years. Number one thing here, it says your school's matriculation history. So the very first thing you should do when selecting a high school for your child is to probably look and see where do they go after high school. If everybody who graduates from this high school goes to no-name university, that's probably not good, right? So if every year Milton Academy in America last year had 15 acceptances to Harvard College, 15 acceptances to Harvard College. That's more than the country of China. Think about that. One high school, right? So the school's matriculation history means where do the kids go once they graduate high school? If the school has never had, let's say, a Johns Hopkins acceptance, that probably means it will be very difficult for you to get into Johns Hopkins. But that also means that if you start developing the relationship with your counselor and Johns Hopkins Undergraduate University as a freshman, and you go to a Johns Hopkins summer program, and you go visit Johns Hopkins, and you say, hey, I go to this school. It's called the International School Bangkok, which, by the way, they do have Johns Hopkins acceptances, right? And by the way, our school has never had a Johns Hopkins acceptance, but I'm very passionate about medical research. I want to go into biochemical engineering, for example, right? And I just want you to know I'm going to demonstrate my interest. I'm going to email you guys. I'm going to be that annoying kid. I'm going to do a admissions interview on campus, do all these things, and then now you're very interesting, right? Think about that, okay? Second thing is competitiveness of student body. So if you go to a school where you have a bunch of all-stars who do very well in every single thing, they just breathe and they get an A+. Smack them, right? Competitiveness of the student body is very important, right? Because to have a 4.0 in a school in Alabama, or maybe 50% of the kids, you don't know what Alabama is, right? 50% of the kids who graduate go to community college. That 4.0 doesn't mean as much as if I go to a school where very few students can obtain a 4.0, like Andover, for example, which is out of a 6.0 scale, right? 4.0 at Andover would be terrible, right? Because it's a 6.0 scale. So you get an idea, right? So the competitiveness of the student body is important. You want to surround yourself, of course, with high-achieving people, but if you're way above your league, as in people around you are a lot smarter than you, right? And you can't hang with them, then it's going to be very difficult for you to be competitive in your class. But if you're in a school that has very, very bad academics, very poor programs, one, you might be number one, but that number one doesn't mean as much. And when you get into university, you're not as well prepared. Think about that, okay? Also, it's important when you apply, you need to know where other kids are applying. So let's say that Nick, let's rewind him 7 years. Actually, rewind me 7 years, right? 7 years apart. Let's say that Nick and I applied to the same universities together, right? If you look at our profile is quite similar, right? We have very similar profile. Maybe he had a 3.95 GPA, I had a 3.86 GPA. Okay, his GPA is better. But because I'm a little bit better on test taking, I had a 1590 on the SAT. He had a 1510 on the SAT, right? So relatively similar. if both of us are applying for Northwestern, if both of us are applying for the same university from the same school, and our school only has accepted one per year to top schools, that's not good. Think about that. You need to understand who's applying. Now, when you're a senior in high school, you can't go to your friends and say, right now, you two are friends. But when you apply to schools, you'll be enemies. I promise you. Right? Shasha's going to go and be like, hey, Nacha, what school are you applying to? I'll take notes. Right? And Nacha's going to be like, I'm not going to tell you. You kidding me? Right? Because that's how competitive it is. Right? If they're applying to the same university and their profile is the same, only one person's going to get in. So then you have to understand that. But then how do you do it? There's a lot of finesse. It's like feng shui, right? Finesse. You can't go to your friends and be like, what school are you applying to? Most of them are going to lie to you anyway. I'm not applying to any universities in America. I'm just going to apply to Singapore school. What? Are you kidding? Right? Name one university in Singapore. Oh, I don't know, right? So this is important. How do you do it? Well, you have to develop a good relationship with your school counselor. And if your school counselor sees you as the number one student in the academic you're applying for engineering schools, then your school counselor will advocate for you and say, hey, you have the number one profile, actually, and I think you'll do the best. So let's have you apply for MIT and Caltech early action. Okay? But by the way, there's some other students who are going to apply, but maybe I can encourage them to apply to other schools. Or maybe we can discuss the strategy, right? So it's like this perfect finesse. And as a parent, please do not do this. Email the counselor and say, what schools are the other students applying to? What's the competition? I must know. Right? Don't do that. Right? Don't even bring the counselor a gift and be like, here, let me give you some mango sticky rice. Tell me. Okay? Academic rigor is important. Academic rigor. So sometimes you have students in high school taking really silly classes, right? So you know what? If I take an easier course and I get a higher GPA, higher IB score, then maybe I'll be more favored upon in the academic pool, in the admissions process, right? You have to take the majors and the classes in what you love and what you're doing, right? You can't just take an easier course. So let's say you have no passion in studio art, which, by the way, is not an easy course, right? But you're not going to even apply as an art major, but you do it, right? You're not even passionate about it. Then it's just a little bit peculiar, a little bit odd, right? Let's say that you apply as a history major because you think, okay, everybody's applying as an engineer and as a business major. I'm going to apply as a history major, but in all of your profile, everything is STEM, science, tech, engineering, math, right? And I apply, I say, hey, the schools won't know. Are you kidding me? Colleges are experts. They'll sniff it out. They'll be like, this kid is trying to apply for a major he's not even interested in because he thinks it's easier. Rejection, right? So demonstrated interest is really important. And then teacher recs. Teacher recs are so important. 99.9% of kids will do the exact same thing every year. Why do we do the exact same thing every year? When we give them advice, don't do it. Parents say, don't do it. Okay, I'll do it. That's what I did, right? So most kids will go to their high school teacher October of their senior year before early action, early decision, 31 October, 1 November. They'll say, hey, Mr. Johnson, can you write me a letter of recommendation? Yeah, you have to fill out this form. The school has this form you have to fill out, and I'll do it for you. That's it. The end, period. So how do you know, number one, that Mr. Johnson is going to write you a good letter of recommendation? A good letter of recommendation is not, Danny is a really good student. I think he will do well in life. I give him a good recommendation. That is a terrible recommendation letter, right? Because as an admissions, I get hundreds of thousands of those recommendation letters. Now, what a good recommendation letter would say is, in my 25 years of teaching, Danny ranks in the top 1% of all students I have mentored. Wow. Think about that. Right? Now let me tell you more about him outside of the classroom. The teacher should be able to not just say, Danny is a good student, Danny did well in class. We already know that. If I look at your report card, I already know that you had good scores in the class. I want to know what kind of character and person am I outside of the classroom. As a teacher, even though I was his IB physics teacher, let me tell you about how he was as the captain of the swim team. Right? Let me tell you about what he did within the community. Those are the kinds of things we need to capture. So how do you do that? Once again, don't take mango sticky rice to your teacher. right? What you need to do is you need to write a self-recommendation letter. Now, we could go into this long and long and long. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of knowledge here to be shared. But if I can summarize it for you really quickly, think about this. Let's say that I find out Mr. Johnson has been with this school for 20 years. That's probably good news. A teacher who has many years of experience is probably a good teacher, we can assume, okay? Then I start talking to upperclassmen, and I find out that every year, Mr. Johnson's top students get into the Ivy Leagues. Mr. Johnson must be good at writing recommendation letters, okay? Then I say, okay, how do I get a good recommendation letter from Mr. Johnson, who teaches me IB physics? Well, I'm going to go to Mr. Johnson when I'm a junior, right? I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Johnson, I'm going to apply for the Johns Hopkins Engineering Innovation Summer Program in America. I was wondering if you could write me a letter of recommendation for the summer program. So now I'm a junior. I'm a grade 11 student. Mr. Johnson's going to say, yeah, sure. What class are you going to take during the summer? Tell me. And so Mr. Johnson writes me a letter of recommendation. He submits it. I get in. Now I'm at the summer camp in Johns Hopkins, and I write Mr. Johnson an email throughout the summer. Every week I update him. Mr. Johnson, today we learned about this, right? Mr. Johnson, today we learned about that. And every single week you give him an update. You go to America, you buy him a little magnet or a coffee mug, right? British people, American people like coffee mugs. And you bring it back to me and say, Mr. Johnson, thanks to you for 3 weeks, I did this research, and I learned so much. Here's my research paper that I submitted at the end of the summer program. By the way, here's a coffee mug. Thank you very much, right? And then you say, because of you, Mr. Johnson, I've developed genuine love for physics. And when I applied to university this fall, about 3-4 months later, I was wondering if you could also write me a letter of recommendation. Now, guess what? Mr. Johnson's going to love that. Mr. Johnson's not going to see it as just a check in the box. He's going to say, man, this is a kid who actually loves learning. Kid who loves physics, I love physics, we're a bunch of physics geeks together. And now I'm going to write very, very passionate recommendation. I'm going to go one step further, right? I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to write a recommendation letter for Mr. Johnson. I'm going to give him a one-page resume. Because Mr. Johnson's so busy, right? He's probably the sponsor of the robotics club, right? He's probably involved with the PTA, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a resume, give it to Mr. Johnson. I'm going to write a self-recommendation letter. So self-recommendation letter basically means that you write about yourself, right? You can write in the first person, I did this, or you can write about yourself in the third person. Danny did this, Danny did this. And what you want to do is just capture all the interactions you've had with the teacher, very personal, very private, but very transformative, and also the things outside of the class through the teacher that was inspired, like the Johns Hopkins Engineering Innovation Program. How's the translation coming back there? Talking too fast? Okay, a lot of stuff to cover. So now Mr. Johnson's going to write me an incredible recommendation letter, and I get into my dream school. You guys get it? Recommendation letters are that important. Now remember this. You need 2 recommendation letters, and you can also ask your counselor to write a recommendation letter. You don't need one from math, and you don't need one from English. That's like an old wives' tale. That's a joke. Right? If your counselor says, you need one for engineering, you need one for humanities, because you're a foreign student, if you don't have an English teacher, they're going to think your English is bad. But I've been attending an international school for 8 years. I speak English better than Thai. Sawadee ka. Right? So you don't need that. What you need to do is you need to find 2 teachers who know you the best. Right? So I have coached students who have gotten letters from their Spanish teacher, from their PE coach, right? Because they have known them the best. So 2 teachers who know you personally, both inside and outside of the classroom. And you can also ask your counselor to write a recommendation letter. And you can add additional recommendation letters, right? But don't do this. Don't go to mom and say, hey, mom, since you went to this great school and all of your friends went to this great school, even though your friends don't know me, can I get like 3 recommendation letters from your friends who went to Stanford too? That's not going to work. They don't care about the signature block, right, which is at the end. They care about the body of the letter. So the person who writes the letter, if it's an additional recommendation letter, they need to be able to say how they know you personally. And if the letter starts off with, I have known Danny's mom for 20 years, and I've seen Danny maybe less than 5 times, right? That's probably not going to be a good recommendation letter. Good. Okay, let's keep going. I'm going to have to drink some water. So there's 3 types of students when you apply to U.S. universities. You have legacy students. Legacy. Who knows what legacy is? Legacy. Legacy means your dad went to the school. Legacy means your grandpa went to the school. So my kids, Nicholas's kids, will be legacy kids for West Point, for Cambridge, for MIT, right? If your brother, sibling went to the school, you get half legacy. Half legacy is such a thing. There's no such thing as quarter legacy, 1/8 legacy. I'm sorry, right? So my kids will have half legacy to MIT, which basically means I get some points, right? Legacy is important. Legacy means that they're looking for future generations of the same lineage coming to the school. Now, legacy also means that you need to donate money. When I applied to school, right, there's a very famous guy named Jackie Chan. Wow, Jackie Chan, right? He had his son who applied to Yale University, and the year when he applied, he sent a check in the amount of X amount of $1 million, about 10 million US dollars. Right? That's about how much money you have to donate. And Yale rejected him. We don't need your money. Now, if Jackie Chan had gone to Yale, and if Jackie Chan had been donating $10 million spread out across 10 years, 1 million at a time, then his son would have gotten into Yale. Think about that, right? So legacy means that you also donate. It doesn't have to be $10 million, but you donate and you help out and you give back to your university. It's not too late. If your kid is a rising senior or is a senior, it is too late. I'm sorry, right? But it is not too late. Second kind of kid is athletic recruit. Athletic recruit means that your sports athletics level is so high that you can compete in America, right? So the National Collegiate Athletics Association, there's 3 divisions, Division 1, 2, and 3. Right? So a lot of the Ivy Leagues have Division 2 or 3. A lot of the big universities like UCLA, Alabama, right? These big universities, some public, some private, they have Division 1, right? So you could have a lower SAT score, lower GPA, but if you're going to be the quarterback of the football team, then your chance of getting in will be much higher, even with lower stats, right? So certain kids get recruited for golf. I've helped probably about 10 kids get into Stanford, right? Get into Yale, get into UPenn, and these various schools for what we call the Ivy League sports. Who knows what the Ivy League sports are? There are 3 Ivy League sports. Anybody? Throw it out there. Don't jump all at once. Okay, what is this one? Yeah, fencing. That is an Ivy League sport. What's another one? This one. Yeah, rowing, also known as crew, right? Crew is an Ivy League sport. What's another one? Nope. Try again. Nope. It's a type of racket sport. What's another one? Starts with the S. Squash. Crew, rowing, fencing, and squash are Ivy League sports, which means that if you're ranked in America in high school as a top 50 ranking in America, your chance of getting into an Ivy League is automatic, right? Think about it. How hard is it to be ranked in tennis versus squash? Most of you don't even know about squash. I probably shouldn't have told you. Now my kids can't apply with squash because you're going to take that from me, right? So squash is much easier to master squash than it is to be good at tennis because so many people are good at tennis. Squash is an indoor sport. It's like very small, right? It requires flexibility and nimbleness. If you're awkward, then you can't be good at squash, right? The #1 school for squash is, Shasha, you play squash? Hey, Mom, did you attend one of my seminars? Yeah? Okay? So the #1 high school for squash is what? What's the #1 high school for squash in the world? Every year they go to this country to recruit students. Blair Academy. Blair Academy is in New Jersey, close to Princeton, close to Lawrenceville. #1 high school for squash. Every year their top 3 squash players, ranked 1, 2, and 3, get into Harvard, Yale, Princeton, these top schools. Right? The #1 country they recruit from is Egypt. Right? Look it up. The top squash players in the world come from Egypt. Who knows why, but they do. What do they eat over there, right? So these are important things to know. If you start your kids in fencing and squash and rowing, right, that is an Ivy League sport. And if they can be top performers in these sports, let's be honest. How many of these kids are going to get recruited for basketball? The national, I want to be like Kobe Bryant. I want to be like LeBron James. Yo, right? That's going to be pretty tough, right? Soccer, football. These are super competitive sports. I played a lot of sports growing up, right? But those sports are a little bit easier for you to know. Okay, so these are Ivy League sports. And then the third thing is extraordinary students. So extraordinary student would not be defined as a kid who has like perfect everything, right? Extraordinary student will be defined as, let's say, I am one of 12 kids And out of 1 of 12 kids, I'm the first kid to go to college. Wow, that's extraordinary. Think about that, right? Extraordinary kids would be at the age of 6, we got in a car accident. I lost mom and dad. I was an orphan. I was adopted by this family, had the opportunity to go to public school, and I made something out of nothing. That's extraordinary, right? These are extraordinary students. So 1, 2, and 3 in that order have priority. Does that make sense? Right? They're always going to accept a legacy kid over an athletic recruit over an extraordinary student, and then you would be in 4. Now, if some of you guys qualify for legacy, fantastic, right? Athletic recruit, fantastic, right? Extraordinary student, probably not a lot of you, right? Especially if you go to good schools, international schools, your story is probably not so extraordinary, right? It's probably like normal stuff. And so then what do you do to package yourself in a very unique way? And this is what you do, right? So this is the answer right here, right? 5 types of criteria. When I'm an admissions officer and I'm looking for students, I grade you, I evaluate you on these criteria. Number 1 is demonstrated interest. Demonstrated interest means what? In 4 years, so they don't care about what you did in middle school and elementary school. You can't write that you got spelling bee champion in 3rd grade. They don't care about that, right? Colleges care about 4 years, 9, 10, 11, 12. Year 10, 11, 12, 13, okay? So demonstrated interest means, how have I demonstrated what I want to study and major in 4 years? Make sense? Okay? So demonstrated interest would be then, if I want to study mathematics, maybe I attended some mathematics competitions. Maybe I also took the highest level of math classes. Maybe I did some mathematics research with a very famous professor who's published in a lot of mathematic journals. Okay? So this is demonstrated interest. If you can demonstrate your passion for what you want to study and major in, then you'll be very competitive. A lot of kids, for example, say, I want to study business. But if you look at their profile, as a high school student, 13 to 16 to 18 years old, how can you demonstrate your interest in business? What most kids do is they go to their daddy and say, hey, daddy, can I intern at your company? Right? And then in their application and their activities, it says, $500 million sales revenue, and I helped manage that inflow. It's like, what? No, you didn't, man. You're like 16 years old. Clearly, your dad's like a chairman of this company, right? Or another kid would say, I held a charity event auction, and I raised $1 million US. Come on, really? Admissions will see that quickly, and they'll say, okay, daddy helped you, right? Unless, of course, you can make a very compelling story for it. They'll check for your social media. They'll look at your website. They'll look at your Facebook. They'll look at your Instagram. If all of a sudden you talk about raising $1 million, but your counselor and your 2 teachers don't even mention it in the recommendation letters, that's questionable. That means rejection. Okay? Commitment over time. Commitment over time. So when you apply to universities, you have to list out 10 activities, right? Most people know you have 10 activities that you list, 1 through 10. Number 1 should be the best. Number 10 should be, maybe not as good. So when you list that, what they're going to look for is how many years did you do it? If I did tennis 9th grade, basketball 10th grade, swimming 11th grade, 12th grade I did no sport. Rejection, right? That's not good. But if I did, tennis, freshman tennis, 10th grade, JV tennis, 11th grade, varsity tennis, 12th grade, number 1 tennis player and team captain. Wow. Right? So that's super important. Okay? So it's important to do a few things and to do it well. Don't be what we call a jack of all trades and a master of none. Right? When you're in elementary school and you're in middle school, you can explore all the opportunities, all the possibilities. I did too. Right? My mom signed us up for everything. I don't remember ever resting on the weekend. I was like, yeah, the weekend. Oh, wait, we still have to wake up at 6 a.m., right? To do like math lessons and cello lessons and swimming lessons and oh my, right? But when you get to high school, you need to really specialize and focus, right? Maybe 2 things, maybe maximum 3 things and just become a master in it, okay? Next one is depth over breadth. So depth over breadth means that once again, you go deep into the subject, right? If you say that you love physics, maybe you need to write about the books that you read in physics. Right? If you say you love physics and you don't even know about Stephen Hawking, for example, or you can't even talk about Albert Einstein's theory of relativity, and you don't mention this, right, in your essays or in your application, then how can you demonstrate that you have dove deeply into it? right? Make sense? I only love physics because I took 2 years of physics as part of my IB requirement. That's not enough. That's a surface level. Everybody does 2 years of physics who wants to pursue that, right? So you have to go deeper than that in layers. If you love history, maybe you do this competition called International History Bee and Bowl. It's the largest academic competition in the world. So you compete at the national level in your country. If you win, you go to the Asia level for the Asian students. If you win, you go to America at the world level. Right? So there's a junior division and there's a varsity division. So this is International History Bee and Bowl. Look it up, IHBB. It's like you answer questions on a buzzer. You can do it individually, B, or you can do it in a team, 3 to 5 people. So we coached teams in the past to get into the world level. And then you apply as a history major, boom, there you go. Depth over breadth, okay? Level of achievement. So here's another one. Level of achievement. You know, you can say that you study Chinese, right? So the first question I would ask as an admissions is I would say, okay, how have you achieved something in Chinese? Okay, I took HSK up to level 5. That is level of achievement. Otherwise, how do I know how good your Chinese is? I took SAT 2 Chinese. I got an 800. Level of achievement. Make sense? Piano. If you play instruments, it's very important to get the ABRSM. Some of you guys may know. ABRSM, right? So level 1, level 2, level 3, all the way up to level 10. You need to have some type of level of achievement in anything that you're very passionate about. This is how you demonstrate interest. Don't just play the piano for 10 years. Go to competitions, right? Get the level certifications. It's just a test that you have to do. If you like Taekwondo, right? And you've been doing Taekwondo for 10 years and you're not a 3rd degree black belt, something's wrong here. You're still a white belt? What? How can you be a white belt for 10 years? That doesn't make any sense. Distance traveled. What is distance traveled? Are you guys still with me? Nobody's sleeping. Hey. Hello. Okay, so distance traveled means this, okay? Where you started from, Nicholas, okay? Nicholas disappeared on me. Oh, he's back there, okay? Nicholas started from a family of rice farmers. You guys heard him. His grandfather, great-grandfather went to 8th grade. That was it, right? His parents met in Beijing and they immigrated to America, right? But Nicholas is now at Harvard Business School and he looks over to his right. He said, hey, John F. Kennedy's grandson, what's up, man? Let's go out together tonight and hang out, have dinner together, right? So Nick traveled a very far distance. But John F. Kennedy, his grandson, whose family donated a lot of money and set up the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard, right? His distance traveled is probably this much. Right? Nothing against them, but that's just reality. Right? So as an admissions officer, recognize admissions officers, what kind of demographics are they? 60% of admissions officers are females, 40% are males, right? Of these individuals, their average age is about 35 plus, older than me, right? So 35 plus to maybe about 45. And then once you get past 45, you're usually like an assistant dean or the dean of admissions, like in their 50s or 60s, right? So that's the average demographic. The average demographic of admissions officers, they don't come from wealthy families, right? How many people who are in the admissions come from elite families? Top of the top 1%. They don't. They're usually scholarship kids. They receive financial aid. They could have never attended the school, but they got a scholarship to attend. They come from middle class to low income families, and they choose to serve the rest of life in admissions. Okay? So now you understand the demographics. So they do not like rich kids who talk about how much money they have and all the resources that they didn't make use of. That really upsets them. Right? They don't like kids who are very arrogant. Look at me, look at me, look at me. They don't like that. Humility is an important part that you need to be able to demonstrate in your application. Right? So, distance traveled. These are the criteria in which you need to understand and start developing now. Right? It's like muscles. Yes? If I know that the admissions will measure my bicep when I get into university, well, Nick is probably going to beat me, right? His bicep's a little bit bigger. So I'm going to start lifting weights and developing my bicep. Right? I just told you the secret sauce right here. So now you have to understand how can you do it for yourself, right? And you have to be intentional about it. You have to be intentional about it. You got to develop a plan. Everybody good? Are you learning something here? Thank you. Okay? Please don't fall asleep. Hey, hang in there. I'll make you do push-ups again, young lady. All right, so you know what? I have some examples of successful applicants and students. what I'll do is we'll just kind of fast forward through this thing real quick because I really want to get to Nacha's part before she falls asleep. Right, that would be terrible, okay? So just briefly, I'll tell you this, right? If you look on the surface level of students who get into top universities, they're all the same, right? They all have good GPAs. They all have good test scores, right? On the surface level, on paper, they are all the same, correct? Right? So how do you differentiate yourself? How do you do that? It is through your essays, your voice. 650 words in your personal statement. You need to demonstrate, why me? Right? Who am I? In your supplement essays, these are your extra essays that you write for universities. You have to be able to explain why you want to pursue this major, why you want to go to this school. In your teacher rec letters, your teachers must be able to convey and demonstrate your love of learning and why you are an excellent candidate for this school. Right? So these are ways in which you need to be able to differentiate. So, the way I like to compare it is like this. Right? Your college is your college soulmate. So Miss Honda back there and I met. I turned 30 years old. The very next day we met, right? So we had to spend time together talking about our values, sharing about our families, sharing about our goals, developing a genuine relationship. You have to have the same approach for college, right? It's like dating. You can't just go to a college and say, okay, I'm going to go to this school because it's ranked number 1. I'm going to go to this school because it has the brand name. I'm going to go to this school because my dad went to this school. Can't do that. You're going to be miserable, right? You have to live for yourself. You are the hero of your own story, so you have to write your own story. So just as you would spend time dating somebody, getting to know them, you have to spend time dating the universities and getting to know the universities. Research is important. A lot of times students don't even know how to research universities, right? They just look at the ranking. It's much more than ranking. Within each school, there's a ranking in the majors too, right? So if you go to Harvard and you want to major in engineering, what do you think about that, right? Probably not as competitive as, let's say, MIT or Caltech or Georgia Tech or UIUC, for example, right? Even though it's ranked, UIUC is in the top 50 of ranking, they're top 5 in computer science. So it's important to understand and research. And having a mentor who can guide you through this research is super important. Otherwise, you don't even know what to look for, right? Probably look up YouTube videos, right? Just go to the college website. Oh, I like the college website. I like the colors. Looks good. I like the mascot. The food looks pretty good. Yes, right? Okay, so for universities, recognize that every single admissions officer has to go through thousands of applications every year. What they do nowadays, because there's so many students, is they will select no before they select yes. Think about that, right? So if I have 1,000 students, it's much easier for me to say no, 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 put it in the no pile, and then in the maybe pile, and then in the for sure pile. For sure would be like legacy athletic recruits, extraordinary students, right? Maybe pile is like, okay, this kid's pretty good, but I have many good kids, so I'm going to put it right here. No is like, heck no. This kid applied to Harvard, and this kid had a 3.0 GPA. No go, right? So they're going to find the no's first before they find the yeses, which means that it's important for you to identify how you can stand out, right? So these things, we'll get into it, maybe another seminar, right? I just got the signal from the wife saying, hey, man, you got to hurry up, man. People are falling asleep, okay? So you have to have a spike in your application. You have to do something that makes you really stand out. The way you tell your story needs to help the admissions remember it. Example would be, a student applied to Dartmouth College a few years ago, and he got a letter of recommendation from his janitor at school. Janitor, the person who cleans the floor. Why? Because every single day he would go to school, and most people ignored the janitor. He would go up to the janitor and say, hey, Mr. Simmons, thank you for cleaning our floor. Mr. Simmons, I brought extra lunch. Here you go, Mr. Simmons. And so for 6 years, this student developed a personal relationship, so the janitor wrote the most powerful recommendation letter you could imagine. And the kid got into school. Dartmouth College, very good school. It's an Ivy League, right? So these are the kinds of, now, the next year, there were many letters of recommendations from janitors, right? And those kids probably didn't all get in. So you can't copy that strategy, okay? All right, so since I got the, let's go. So if you're interested, happy to sit down with you guys and talk about the types of students. These are real students. These are the students you saw in the video. The types of profiles they had when they met us, and the types of profiles we developed together, right? Genuine. So what we don't do is we don't write the application for the student and never meet the student and lie about it. We develop real, authentic profiles because it's not about getting in, it's about getting in doing well. Getting in and doing well is more important than just getting in, right? So these are some examples of the types of essays they wrote. The student, when he arrived as a freshman in high school, this is all he had. And then this is what we developed, right? This is what we developed over the years. Develop self-confidence, develop character, develop activities, develop leadership, right? So these are some examples of students who got into UPenn, got into Columbia. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fast forward all of this now, and we're going to bring up a very special someone. It's your turn now. Okay, so who here knows about Nacha and the gang, right? So I believe like almost everybody in here should know about Nacha and the gang. If you don't, go to Nacha and the gang on YouTube and subscribe. Okay, so Nacha, let's come up here. We're going to go ahead and give her the opportunity. Let's give a round of applause. So check this out. Nacha, today is a Saturday, right? Nacha has many things to do. She does tennis, right? She does academics. There's many things that she always has to, make some videos. But Nacha has spent the time sharing her story. So this summer, she met me for the first time, right? And I met her for the first time. And she attended a summer camp in Hanoi, Vietnam. So for 3 weeks, Nacha spent time with us together, developing her character. Already when she came here, she had good character. Nacha's not a bad person, but more important than anything, suffering. Suffering, right? If you come from a good family background and your life is quite comfortable, at an early age, you need to suffer. You need to embrace hardship. No parent wants to throw their kids into the lion's den, but you must, right? The earlier you can embrace hardship and overcome the difficulty, the better you will be set up for life. Okay, so I'm not going to take too much of her thunder away because I don't want to steal her lines. So I'm going to pass it off to Nacha. Let's give her a round of applause. I'm going to set the screen appropriately, and then you can go ahead and begin. Ready, set, go.
Sawasdee ka. Hi, some people might know me or see me on TV and think, wow, she can do so many things. But actually, I'm still a normal kid, going to school, the usual. It's just that I have so many chances, like having my own TV show, Tupang Nacha Naka. Also, I have emceed events. I'm also a products presenter. But then, now that I think of it, that was only the beginning of my experiences. Now, because of Point Avenue, I've seen a big change in my life. So then, this year, my parents decided to take me to boot camp. I was thinking what boot camp was like. Well, I was expecting fun, sports, activities, and just a bit of academics. But then that is not at all what Point Avenue is like. The moment I stepped into Point Avenue, Hanoi, I was thinking, this is going to be fun. But at the same time, I wasn't expecting a lot of things. Now, my parents introduced me to this man. He was very sweaty, and he was wearing a blue Point Avenue shirt, just like that. Just like that. That's Danny. And now, I saw something very interesting on his shirt. It was the logo, the circle with 4 spikes. It was very interesting because I didn't know what it was. Well, on first thoughts, I was thinking, is it a bird? Oh, wait. Is it a plane? No. Wait, is it Superman? Well, this is Danny, the CEO of Point Avenue. Saying bye to my parents was way easier than I expected. I thought it would be so dramatic, but it was actually just a hug, a few words before I said bye. And then I ran off the bus with Danny. So then, looking out the window, I saw my parents. They were smiling in tears. I was going to cry too, but the happiness took over. I was really joyful. Okay, as soon as we got there, it was the first day. The first day was super duper chill. It was actually really fun. I got to meet new friends, new mentors, and new STEAM kids, which are pretty cute. And also, on the first day, some people get picked as leaders. There are 3 types of leaders: platoon leaders, squad leaders, and assistant squad leaders. In each platoon, there are 4 squads: Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. Surprisingly, I actually got picked as assistant squad leader for Charlie. It was such an honor. I was so joyful. My job was really easy at first. It was just getting everyone in line and on time, also remembering their names. And then I went to sleep with joy and a body ready for the next day. Now, the next day, it was actually kind of tiring because I had to do so many push-ups and sit-ups. I also had to run quite a bit because it was the physical test. For the physical test, you need to do as many push-ups and sit-ups as you possibly can for 2 minutes. But then, after that, I was so exhausted, I couldn't feel a muscle. It wasn't over yet, though. There was still the run. Now, the run, you have to run for 2 kilometers as fast as you can. And to be honest, I feel like that day was the best I could do for a girl like me. You know, never exercising. I've never ran, I've never done push-ups, and I've never done sit-ups. So I think that was the best I could do. For the second day, it was still, for the third day, it was actually really challenging to wake up at 5:45 because your first activity starts at 6. Now, this time, the leaders didn't manage all the kids in time before 6 a.m. And at Point Avenue, if anyone, by chance, is late by a single minute, you get pain train. Because if you start together, you finish together. And if you're late together, you get pain train together. So, explaining about pain train, it's not a fun little train that goes around saying, pain train, chugga chugga choo choo. No. Pain train is actually painful consequences that you get for being late. Now, let's start with the basics of pain train. You just need to hold a tug-of-war rope and then probably run around the basketball court for at least basic 15 laps. So that night at pain train, tears filled my heart as my body went through pain. While teamwork is important for the rest of your day, just like Danny said, no pain, no gain. I was thinking of what Danny said about no pain, no gain. Now, the first thing I thought of was working hard. In working hard, there are tough times, but when you get past those tough times, you gain success. Also, I gained leadership from that day. The leadership from that day was really important because I realized that being a good leader isn't about having all the power and just controlling everyone and leaving them behind. But being a good leader is all about responsibility and taking action when someone does something wrong. Also, being a good leader is about pushing others to their limits, also pushing yourself, and then gaining success together. Now, talking about one of the best parts. Every Sunday, you get your phone for at least 2 to 4 hours, depending on how clean your room is. My room was pretty clean, I would say. So as soon as I got my phone, I called my parents immediately. That was the first thing on my list. And then without hesitation, I told them, I want to go home. It was so painful. But then my dad said something to me that really lit up that light. He said, Nacha, I want you to come home, but come home with accomplishments and success. I was almost going to give up, but then my dad really lit up that light telling me, I will never quit. Now, after 3 weeks of camp, I was really tired and exhausted from all the waking up, the hard work, and the learning. So I also built up skills mentally and physically. Now comes the most challenging part of the camp, which is running 21 kilometers. It seems pretty impossible for me because I've never ran before, I've never jogged before, and I also hate it. So it really seems impossible. But just with a growth mindset and with an apostrophe, I can turn the impossible into the I'm possible. I am possible. It's not only me though, it's anyone in here. Anyone could be possible, just with a growth mindset. You are possible. Now, when I look at Danny's shirt, the Point Avenue shirt, I actually see something. I see it as a compass that leads you in the right direction and the positive direction. Also, it's the compass that gives you a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And that compass is Point Avenue. I will always give maximum effort. I will stand up for others. I will never quit. I will live my life with integrity. Point Avenue. ขอบคุณค่ะ
Hey, she sounds like a 30-year-old woman. Nuggets of wisdom. Think about the things she said. Nacha, how old are you? 11 years old. 11 years old. Did you guys hear the things she said? No pain, no gain. Responsibility. I will never quit. I'll live my life with integrity. I mean, that's just incredible. Right? That is just incredible. Now, when we talk about good parenting, imagine one day when I think about good parenting, when my kids are standing up here in front of others and saying those kind of things, that's an example of good parenting. Remember when Nicholas, when he introduced himself, he didn't talk about himself as much. He talked about his father. He talked about his great-grandfather. He talked about his mother. That is an example of good parenting. When you think about how you want to measure your success as a parent and your kids many, many years later who become adults and say, I am where I am today because of my mom and because of my dad, that is an example of good parenting. All right, so what we want to do here is I think we have a couple options, right? We can kind of wrap this up real quick. I was wanting to do like a live mentoring session with Nacha so that you can see how this works, right? So it'll be very short, maybe like a 5 to 10 minute mentoring session where I would actually show you how we talk to students and how we coach them. Right? Raise your hand if you want to see the live mentoring session. Okay, great, yeah, because seeing is believing. All right, Nacha, come up here. So Nacha doesn't even know about this, right? Nacha, do you know about this? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and sit down. All right, go ahead and sit down right here, face the audience. I'll give you a microphone. Test, test, test. By the way, fantastic job. That was awesome.
Thank
we should
you.
probably change this photo. It's not a good photo. This is not very...
Very sweaty man.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so let's go to this. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to have a conversation, right? A live mentoring session is just merely a conversation. So the big question that we always ask, that you always ask as parents and we always ask as mentors is, what do you want to be when you grow up? Right, so I pose that question to Nacha. What do you want to be when you grow up? Be honest.
Am I allowed to answer I don't know?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
and majority of the people on this earth would say, I have no idea. I don't know. I have no goals. Right? So these are the things that students would say. So then we have to go beyond that. So the next question I would ask is I would say, okay, that's okay. When I was 11, I also didn't know that I would be a teacher and a mentor. I would go to West Point. I didn't have these kind of goals. My goal maybe when I was 11 was to beat my brother in arm wrestling. To do better than my brother on a mathematics exam, which probably never happened. Right? So, Nacha, my question to you is, let's go back to what you know, academics and subjects. Academics and subjects. Tell me, what are your top 2 favorite subjects in school?
PE and math.
Okay, PE and math. But I thought you said you never done push-ups and sit-ups and you don't run.
Well, that was before. I'm in 6th grade now after the boot camp,
Yeah.
so
now you love fitness?
yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. Just in 3 weeks, you fell in love with fitness, right? Okay, so let's go with math. Because if I start coaching you about how you can be a PE coach one day in the future, mom and dad are going to give me a mean stare. Okay, so mathematics. Now, what can Nacha do today to demonstrate her interest and to go depth over breadth, some of the things we were talking about in mathematics? So, Nacha, have you ever heard of AMC, American Mathematics Competition?
No.
Okay, so there's a thing called AMC, AMC 8, 10, and 12. The numbers denote what grade. So as a 7th grader, as a 6th grader, I can take AMC 8. This is a mathematics exam. It is a paper-based test. Majority of the schools compete and do this, right? So it's an international level exam. You answer a bunch of very, very difficult math questions. If you do well on these math questions, you go to the next level. The next level from AMC is AIME, American International Mathematics Examination. That is also another paper-based test. If you get beyond that next level, which, by the way, as a non-U.S. passport holder, you can't, right? You have this thing called USAMO, United States of America Mathematics Olympiad, okay? So today, Nacha, I could give you a test on AMC 8, which I do have, and just have you solve some of the problems.
Right now?
Not right now, right? So then we could see how Nacha would do, and Nacha can start preparing for this examination. Right? If she loves math, then I'm sure she loves the logic behind the math, the problem solving behind the math. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we can do some very difficult math problems that she wouldn't do normally in school. So that's one example. Have you ever heard of the PUMAC? P-U-M-A-C.
No.
Okay. The PUMAC is the Princeton University Mathematics Competition for high school students only. So you put together a team, you go to Princeton, the Princeton graduate students and undergraduate students do a mathematics competition for kids who love math. It's a bunch of nerdy math kids who solve difficult math problems. Does that sound interesting, to go to Princeton and to do math?
Maybe.
Maybe, right? Especially if you get to do it with some friends, right? Imagine if you can fly to America, to Princeton, and solve some math problems. So this is a very elite level competition that students can compete in who love math. Another one, HMMT, right? Have you heard of that? Okay, so that's not Hummer, right? That is Harvard and MIT mathematics team. Again, every year around November timeframe, MIT students would host a competition for high school kids in math. Then around February or April, Harvard students would host a mathematics competition for students in math. By the way, you can do this as an international student. It's not just for US passport holders. Okay? So have you ever heard of CTY?
No.
Center for Talented Youth. Have you ever heard of EPGY?
No.
Okay? That's a Stanford-based program. So these are summer programs. Nacha would have to take a test. It's called a SCAT, S-C-A-T. If she does well, well would be defined as score in the 95th percentile. Nacha has the chance to go to Johns Hopkins University or Stanford University. And in the summer, Nacha, you solve really fun math problems. Not just math problems, but you surround yourself with people your age who love math. And all you do is you talk about math, you dream about math, and you solve math problems. Doesn't that sound so much fun? Okay, so these are some examples of things that we would start encouraging Nacha, you to do, right? Because you love math currently as a 6th grader, and you want to go beyond what you're doing in school. Doing what you're doing in school is not enough, right? You have to continue to challenge yourself beyond that, okay? So these are some of the examples of what Nacha can do to further develop. Now, here's the thing, Nacha, do you know what the highest level of math class that you can take in your school? You go to ISB? Yeah. Does ISB have an AP and an IB? Do you know? Do you even know what that is?
No.
Who here goes to ISB, International School Bangkok, okay? Does anybody know what IB is when I say IB? Okay? IB stands for International Baccalaureate, right? Typically, you take an IBD, IB diploma, you take an examination, long word. So basically, you, in your junior year, Nacha, or your 11th grade year, you select 6 classes. Of the 6 classes, you select 3 high-level courses and 3 standard-level courses. So basically, you pick 6 subjects, and for 2 years, you study these 6 subjects.
Okay.
Okay? So if you like math, do you think you would select a high-level math or a standard-level math?
High level.
Okay, good. So now we already know, probably out of the 6 courses, Nacha can work to study high-level mathematics. Okay? Nacha, have you ever heard of pre-calculus before?
Yes.
Okay? What's above pre-calculus? What's
Calculus.
a level above what?
Calculus.
Yeah, calculus what?
I don't know.
Calculus AB. Yes? What's above calculus AB?
Calculus CD.
Okay, calculus BC. Okay, yeah, it's okay. We're learning, right? It's a learning process, okay? So say calculus BC.
Calculus BC.
Okay, what's above calculus BC?
Calculus CD.
Okay, yeah, I mean, some people call it that. They call it multivariable calculus. Multivariable calculus.
Multivariable calculus.
Yeah, this is a mouthful, right? What's above multivariable calculus? Linear algebra, differential equations. Say that.
What?
Linear algebra,
Linear algebra.
differential equations.
Differential equations.
Okay, so my brother took all of these courses in high school. These are college level courses, right? By his junior year, he finished linear algebra and differential equations at a nearby university. And then he said, what else can I do? And they said, there's no more courses that we can offer. So then he did AP statistics, which was like a piece of cake, okay? So now you know, right? What is pre-calculus? What comes after that? I just told you.
Calculus.
Calculus.
Calculus AB.
Right, after that?
Calculus BC.
Yep, after that?
Multi-calculus.
Variable.
Multivariable calculus.
What's about that?
The thing that you just told me.
Yeah, what was the thing that I just told you? Linear? Linear algebra. So not algebra, but linear algebra. And then diffie Q, right? So what we would do here is I would actually have Nacha have a notebook, of course. Right? She's not going to remember all this stuff, right? And then every single time we would have her take down some notes. Okay? And then we'd say, hey, Nacha, if you really love math, you love math, right? Currently. Maybe after this, you don't love math anymore?
No.
Okay? And then we would say, all right, let's explore pre-calculus together. Let's explore HMMT together. Let's go to the website. Right? Let's explore AMC together. Today, we've learned about like 20 different types of possibilities in math. Right now, what are you studying in math? In sixth grade, what do you do in sixth grade? Are you doing pre-algebra? What kind of stuff? Are you doing
Not
geometry?
yet.
What are you doing right now in math?
Many things.
Give me like a problem that you get in math.
There's like this one problem that we got for homework recently. It's called 8 squares.
Okay.
And then like there are many squares on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So then if it's like a quarter on top of this square, that means you have to times 4. And then the top square, A, is equals to 3.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to figure out what the number of the original square is.
So when you're dealing with shapes in mathematics, what is that typically? What category of mathematics is it?
Geometry.
Yeah, very good, right? So she's learning some geometry. Usually in about 6th grade, if you're advanced level math, you might do some geometry. Some kids, once they get to about 7th grade, they start doing like trigonometry if they're high level, right? And then you continue to progress. Algebra 1, Algebra 2, okay? So this is what Nacha knows because this is what they do in school, but you gotta be extraordinary. You gotta go beyond what your textbook offers and what you talk about in class. So are you gonna go home and now research more about linear algebra?
Maybe.
Okay. What are the top engineering mathematics programs in America? Do you want to go study in America one day?
Yes.
You do? Okay. Did mom and dad approve of that too? You said bye-bye this time?
My dad is currently trying to process it, but mom is like, yeah, go for it.
Okay. Dad's probably going to try to move in with you on college campus, right? Okay. So what are some of the best math programs in America, like undergraduate universities in mathematics? Do you know?
No.
Okay. What are some of the best engineering schools? Usually schools that have very good engineering programs also have very good math programs. Where did my brother go to school?
Somewhere.
Tim. Spell Tim backwards. Go ahead. Tim.
MIT.
Yeah, how do you spell it?
MIT.
MIT. That's where he went, right? Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Right? Okay. Where is that?
America?
Yeah, where in America?
Georgia?
Nope, it's not in Georgia. Right? It's in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Cambridge. What other very famous elite universities are in Cambridge, Massachusetts? Right next to, where does Nick go to school? Nick, I just saw that big yawn. Where does Nick go to school?
Harvard.
Harvard.
School?
Yeah, so Harvard. Harvard is a school. Undergraduate school is called Harvard College, and then the graduate school is called whatever the school is, right? Okay? So what's happening right now to Nacha? Right now, Nacha is learning so much. She's processing a lot of information. As a matter of fact, what happens every single time we learn something, right? We get a wrinkle in our brain. We fire what's called a neuron, Right? So Nacha is learning new things right now. She's processing things that she probably never thought possible. And now, out of her intellectual curiosity, Nacha will probably do more research about it. Right? She'll learn and see where these universities are. That Georgia is not the same as Massachusetts. As a matter of fact, they're quite far apart. Okay? But it's okay, right? Most people don't know these things. Right? So that's just an example of the type of mentorship. And then we'd go probably a little bit deeper. We'll talk more about our personal life. Right? So for the sake of time, we'll stop here, but we'll talk about maybe things that you're struggling with, things that stress you out. You know, who are the friends? Maybe do you deal with bullying at school? Are you dealing with bullying at school?
No.
Are you a bully?
Maybe.
Right? Okay, don't be a bully, right? So these are things we'd also talk about, our personal life, right? And then we have this personal conversation, depending on the relationship that Nacha has with their parents. In this case, the relationship is very positive. I would say, hey, Nacha, all the things we discussed today, are you okay if I also share with your parents about it?
Yeah.
That you said MIT is in Georgia, you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we'd bring the parents in and we'd have the conversation. Now, parents know what kind of interest Nacha has, what she's learning, and parents can also help her, guide her, support her. And together, the three of us as a team would help Nacha. There you go. Thank you very much. That's it. High five. That's it.
Can I go down now?
You can go. Okay, so what we're going to do here is let me just wrap up real quick, right? Point Avenue. So this is some of the faculty and teachers at Point Avenue. Give you a real quick summary. Right now, Point Avenue is in Hanoi, Vietnam. We have about 2 centers in Hanoi, Vietnam. We have about 1,200 students that we help mentor. It's an after-school program. We do have an international kindergarten. We have a STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, math-based English learning program. We have a middle school program, a high school program, and we also do admissions consulting to send students abroad. We also have a test preparation AI platform, artificial intelligence platform. This is currently in Hanoi, Vietnam, right? So we are actually expanding to Bangkok, Thailand. So that's why we're here. Right? So we'll be spending more and more time in Thailand. As a matter of fact, every single month, we'll be coming to Thailand, and we'll be doing more of these workshops and seminars. Today we had, I think, like 50 people. I'm going to round up because I'm an optimist. So we had about 50 people show up today, which also includes my family and my wife and Nick and, Nacha's family. But it's okay. We'll add all of them into the total. So we have about 50 people. We hope that every single month, as we host these seminars and workshops, we have this entire auditorium filled. This is free knowledge. Right? Free knowledge, and knowledge is power. And so Point Avenue is this education institution committed to building a dream, an incredible dream, because it takes a team to build a dream, to educate and impart and empower the future generations. I feel good because I know people like Nacha will lead the world tomorrow. Right? When I'm an old man walking with a cane, right? And I look up on the television and I see Nacha, look at my mouth. And I say, wow, Nacha is a leader in Thailand. Nacha is a leader at the global stage. And I had some part to do with it as an educator. So coming February 2020, very soon. Oh man, there's so many great things I missed. Okay, so we also have a winter boot camp. Nacha attended a summer boot camp. It was a 3-week session. December 5th, I know it's really small. We'll email it to you guys too, don't worry, right? December 15th through the 28th. Typically for students who are on the international school calendar, right? December 15th to the 28th, we're hosting a 2-week boarding camp in Hanoi, Vietnam. Right? So in Hanoi, Vietnam, we're going to host this 2-week boarding camp. It's going to be intense. It's going to be fun. It's going to be meaningful. And guaranteed, every single one of your children will get something out of it. Kids as young as about 6 years old, actually, and kids as old as about 16 to 18 years old. Okay, so we're going to be doing seminars, September, November, December, January, right? The lucky draw. Are we doing that? Okay, good. So, test.
มาช่วยแปลค่ะคือรอบนี้เป็นครั้งแรกที่เราจัดนะคะเป็น free knowledge อย่างที่เขาบอกคือความจริงจุดมุ่งหมายก็คืออยากมาแชร์ประสบการณ์หวังว่าวันนี้ได้เรียนรู้อะไรกันไปบ้างไหมคะได้เรียนรู้เนาะเราจะพยายามกลับมาทุกเดือน every month right we'll try every month จะพยายามกลับมาทุกเดือนอย่างวันนี้ค่ะเวลาจำกัดมากเห็นสไลด์เขาข้ามไปเยอะมาก ความจริงมีแบบ case study ของเด็กที่เราเคยโค้ชอยากโชว์โปรไฟล์ให้ดูเหมือนกันว่าอ๋อเด็กที่เราเคยโค้ช what type of profile what did we do how did we help them อะไรพวกนี้ค่ะความจริงอยากแชร์แต่ว่าเวลาเราค่อนข้างน้อยก็เลยสกิปไปเอาภาพรวมๆก่อนเนาะเพราะว่าครั้งนี้ครั้งแรกเดือนหน้าถ้าสนใจเราอาจจะมีไลน์หลายท่านแล้วถ้าใครยังไม่มีไลน์ Honda มาแอดได้นะคะแล้วเดี๋ยวจะส่งข้อมูลว่าครั้งหน้าเราจะจัดอีกอาจจะ drill down on some of the things we skip such as like case study ต่างๆนะคะพวก case study ของเด็กที่เราเคยทำผ่านมาเพื่อจะได้เห็นภาพมากขึ้นเพราะวันนี้แบบภาพกว้างมากแล้วก็อีกอย่างหนึ่งที่เขาพูดก็คือหลายคนถามว่าแล้วเราอยากทำงานร่วมกันเราอยากรู้จักพวกเราทำยังไงดี Currently we do not have an office in Bangkok yet คือตอนนี้ยังไม่มีออฟฟิศในเมืองไทยครั้งนี้คือโยนหินถามทางครั้งแรกของเราเลยจริงๆค่ะที่มาเมืองไทยเพราะว่าเราก็ไม่แน่ใจเหมือนกันว่าผู้ปกครองเมืองไทยสนใจอะไรแบบนี้ขนาดไหนนี่คือครั้งแรกที่เรามาเราวางแผนไว้ว่า we will open a center in February 2020 คือเล็งไว้ว่าประมาณปีหน้าช่วง spring อะค่ะก็จะมาเปิดเป็นเซ็นเตอร์เพื่อที่จะให้เด็กเขามาอยู่กับเรามาทำการบ้านมาเมนเทอร์เซสชั่นกับพวกเราอย่างนี้ได้ค่ะแต่ว่าระหว่างตอนนี้จนถึงตอนนั้นถ้าผู้ปกครองท่านไหนแบบว่าโหยซัมเมอร์เนี้ยไม่อยากให้ลูกนอนตีพุงอยู่บ้านหรือว่าวินเทอร์นี้ไม่อยากให้เขาอยู่เฉยๆ we actually have a winter camp program ซึ่งเป็น boarding camp ค่ะเด็กๆสามารถมาอยู่กับพวกเราได้2อาทิตย์เหมือนน้องนัชชามาเมื่อตอนซัมเมอร์แต่ตอนซัมเมอร์เป็น3อาทิตย์ค่ะช่วงวินเทอร์เป็น2 weeks ที่ฮานอยเวียดนามค่ะแล้วก็ all inclusive ก็คือมาอยู่กับเราเลย2อาทิตย์ I can guarantee one thing it would be a life changing experience มันเป็น experience ที่เปลี่ยนไม่ใช่แค่พวกเราค่ะเปลี่ยนเด็กด้วยเปลี่ยนคุณครูเองด้วยแต่มันเป็นประสบการณ์ที่ดีจริงๆค่ะ
Yep. Susu, fighting. That's all I can say. All right. So before we leave here, right? There's one thing I want to impart. We always like to give our families something they can take away and put into action right away. Who here has heard of 21 Days of Gratitudes? Raise your hand. Who here has heard of Sean Aker? Sean Aker, S-H-A-W-N, Aker. Yes, thank you. Right? So Sean Aker is the father of positive psychology. Positive psychology, which actually means that you can rewire your brain to think more positively. And in doing so, you have better outcomes. You get the promotion, you get paid more, you have better general happiness, right? And these kind of things, okay? So in his book, right, he talks about one of the many things that he wants people to do, and it's called 21 Days of Gratitudes. Very simple. Every single day, you sit down with your family. So at dinner, don't be on your cell phones, right? Don't be on tablets. Sit down with your family, no technology, and say, no TV, and say, all right, guys, what we're going to do today and for the next 21 days is we're going to all get a notebook. We're going to write down three things that we're grateful for, right? So it can't be my glasses, my watch, and my iPhone, right? So it has to be more specific, right? 3 things, very specific things. So an example might be, this morning when I woke up, I had breakfast, right, at home, a nice home-cooked Thai meal prepared by my family here, right? So that's one thing I'm super grateful for, okay? So that's an example, right? So 3 things that you're grateful for, and you do this for 21 days. If you do this for 21 days and you think positively for 21 days, and every single day at dinner, you share it with your family, and you speak in this positive language, then you rewire your brain to be much more positive. And you wake up in the morning and you stop complaining about silly things, right? You stop complaining about the Bangkok traffic, right? And you're much more positive in the way you approach things. Teach your kids to do this. Doesn't matter how old they are. Doesn't matter how young they are, right? Do the 21 Days of Gratitudes. I really encourage you guys to do that. Next time when I come back with our team, we'll bring more people, right? We'll bring more people from Vietnam. And when we do, I'm going to ask you the question and be honest. I'll say, okay, who here did 21 Days of Gratitudes? Right? I want to encourage everybody here to do that. Because, right there, if you fail to plan, you'll plan to fail. Right? This is super important. Right? If you just go about life without purpose, direction, motivation, and you just wake up and you check the box and you go through the motions every single day, you're always just going to be mediocre. You're going to be average. Nobody wants to be average. You always want to do better, do more, be all that you can be. right? Okay? So remember this. And then remember this. If you have any questions, if you have, in the future, if there's topics that you want to learn more about, the art of motivation, how to instill self-discipline in children, right? How to develop healthy life habits, the 7 habits of highly effective teens. If you want to learn about test preparation, if you want to drill deep into specific aspects, right? Just email us here at contact@Point Avenue, and then we can put together a workshop. We've done hundreds of thousands of workshops, and we can do that in the future. So basically, think about this. Every single month, we'll be coming back. We'll host these workshops. Please tell your friends about it. Please come here, learn more, share your knowledge today with others. And then around February timeframe, we plan to do a grand opening in Gateway Ekamai. In Gateway Ekamai right now, we're about to move in to this space, and then we're going to do all the renovation and build out. And we want to build this beautiful center, and it's not going to be just an education center. We call it a third home for kids, a third home. So you have home, you have school home, and then you have Point Avenue, home. Okay? So thank you very much. I think before we leave here, we're going to do one last thing. Let's get Nacha and Nick up here, and also Handa. Let's conclude with the Point Ave ethos.